Okay, we were a little concerned there that we weren't that it the show was not gonna start on time, but it did finally. It wanted to think about it for a second there. Anyway, though, folks, happy Wednesday. More importantly, welcome to Playback's big day here on Playback TV, courtesy of Empty the Bench Network. Other way around. Either way, though, folks, it is a huge day though here for us on Playback TV. A full slate of NBA games. Uh, the final, I think, actual first unveiling of Around the Room at 3:30 Pacific time with a very famous ESPN host going to be leading the way, jumping into communities as the day goes on. And also, more importantly, you're stuck with us, though, here for the first 3 hours of our day for what's going to be roughly, I'd say, a 7 to 9 hour workday here for ETB Network, though, folks. Either way, welcome to episode 23 of Press Row. As always, we are your proud home of being your front row seat to all things at the intersection of sports, business, media, and culture right here on ETB, as always presented by Playback and by Novig. That is Nick Morgeson, our fearless leader, joining us from Plainview, New York. I'm Callum McClurg here in San Diego. As always, a full action-packed lineup of topics, takes, and deep dives ahead, covering all the latest with gambling news, Stephen A. Smith versus Michelle Beadle. You name it, we've got it here today. As a reminder, though, everybody, make sure you're following us on social media. We are at ETB Network across Twitter, IG, and TikTok. And be sure to smash the subscribe button over at youtube.com/ETB Network as we're approaching our goal of 4,000 watch hours and already past 1,000 and over 1,000 subs already.
Over 1,050 now.
If you can believe that. And we're also proudly brought to you by Playback TV, the real-time fan-first experience where you can watch games with us, react live, jump on mic, and connect with your fellow sports diehards from the NBA, MLB, soccer, and much more, all happening here on Playback. Sign up for free today at playback.tv/ETB Network, more importantly, and never watch sports alone again. And we're also powered by Novig, America's #1 sports prediction market, available right now in 35 states. On Novig, you're 10 times more likely to win long-term compared to a traditional sports book because you're playing against real users and not versus the house. Sign up now for free. Use promo code ETB Network, and you can unlock exclusive sign-up bonuses. And also, you can catch all of our Playback TV content now streaming on the ETB Network's Kick and Twitch channels, also all at ETB Network. Mr. Morgeson, action-packed day, plenty of basketball. Again, we had that very big news break about an hour ago about Playback's big day and what's coming up at 3:30. We've got our 2 games tonight, but also, more importantly, going so many different directions. But first, though, Nick, here's that announcement about this gentleman right here joining ETB, maybe, but joining Playback here this afternoon. Let's hear it.
23 years is a goated number. 4,953 episodes is more than Oprah and Letterman and Sesame Street. The debate goes on now without us, but you pick up where we left off.
It's your boy Tony Reale, and it's a ball night. Come join me on Playback, 6:30 Eastern Wednesday, for a little game I like to call Around the Room. Then all night, a loaded NBA schedule. I'll be popping in and out of all the great communities on Playback TV.
So there it is.
Oh, baby.
There it is. Yes, Tony Reale makes his triumphant return to media. But did you have Playback TV on the bingo card? I totally did not.
No. When the announcement got made, though, about Around the Room, that they were going to bring Around the Horn in some capacity to our platform, I'm like, this could go somewhere if they get the right person to lead it. Sure enough, Nick, here we are today at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern with Around the Room being hosted by no one better than Tony Reale here today.
Now, they're saying this is a one-time thing. I kind of hope it's not a one-time thing.
I feel like it's going to be too good for them not to say, can we do this like once a week or once a month?
You don't think the platform is going to go nuts knowing that he's going to be on the...
Just you and me and Tom alone on ETB have been going nuts in Slack for the last hour.
I want him as a guest, for crying out loud, on this show. Like,
yes.
I'll tell you right now, that might be the episode, depending on how that goes. Like, because you and I can sit with him for an hour, I feel like, and just...
You could probably do all 3 with us, honestly.
Like, just do a deep dive on, like, what Around the Horn was. But huge announcement for that. So Tony Reale will be doing Around the Room 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:30 p.m. Pacific on the Playback channel, playback.tv/playback, I think is their channel. It's a weird way to say it, but yes,
It's on the mothership today.
it's on the big playback room. So it'll be on right before we
Take
take
the air
the
for
air.
NBA tonight. Yes.
But yeah, check us out. We will be live on this channel. There's going to be 10 of us at some point in this room. It's going to be the largest stream we've done since the NBA Finals. So check it out, and we're going to do a lot of stuff in there too. So make sure you join us, and we'll feature how many games today? 2 at least.
We're
The Knicks.
featuring two, but I think we're going to be jumping around though from game to game.
Yeah, so we have. I forgot who the Knicks are playing tonight, but the Knicks are the first game, and then it's Lakers Thunder, I think, which is the ESPN doubleheader. But yeah, like Callan said, we'll jump around the gamut. I think the Celtics are playing. I think the Bulls are playing, which is some of our fans, some of our team on here. So I don't know if the Nets are playing. They played last night, I think.
So,
but
Nick, we've got Orlando, New York, LA, Oklahoma City today.
it's actually not a bad doubleheader, actually, for ESPN. But hashtag Playback's Big Day. Make sure you jump in and join us. But yes, we got a huge show, a lot of controversy, which is how you and I like it on this show.
A lot of video, a lot of clapping back, more gambling, fallout, you name it.
Yeah, so obviously one of the big headlines, Nico Harrison finally gets fired as the GM of the Mavericks. We'll get into that. An MLB gambling scandal, which has now been officially confirmed as being indicted. We'll get into that. An unfortunate topic. We got to talk about another suicide in professional sports. Those are tough topics to talk about. We'll get into Paul Tagliabue, who passed away. More of Netflix taking over the podcast scene. Stephen A. and the Solitaire Cash App situation. Plus, Stephen A. spitting fire against Michelle Beadle and Carrie Champion, which we have videos of both. So if you don't think we came with receipts, you'd be sadly mistaken. What else? Mark Sanchez fired by Fox Sports. That was only a matter of time. We'll get into Warner Bros. Discovery and some sales talks and how a certain CEO should not be a CEO anymore. The latest fallout from the Disney and YouTube TV standoff, which there might be some good news on that front, possibly coming soon, but I'll believe it when I see it. YouTube TV customer, by the way. And yes, I did have to buy ESPN Unlimited to start watching ESPN again. A lawsuit for Brian Kelly versus LSU, which apparently a coach can walk away, but they claim not to be fired, but now wants to fire for cause. Figure that one out. And some more WNBA drama, because we don't have enough of that. So that and a whole lot more, but let's get underway with obviously the big kahuna in the room.
Yeah, the big kahuna in the room is actually not what you probably thought today, folks, but the much-anticipated 10-year, $1.5 billion partnership deal between Penn Entertainment and ESPN to launch ESPN Bet is reportedly folded after a little more than 2 years of operation. The venture failed to gain meaningful market share against giants like DraftKings and FanDuel. ESPN earlier in the week announced a mutual agreement with Penn to terminate the deal, which will conclude coming up on December the 1st, and immediately pivoted to signing a new deal with DraftKings to become ESPN's new official sportsbook and odds provider, marking the second time that Penn has gotten out of a high-profile sportsbook deal so quickly following the folding of the Barstool Sportsbook. So, Nick, after 2 quick field attempts with high-profile media partners like both Barstool and ESPN, does Penn Entertainment's inability to compete in the sports betting scape prove that the battle for market share has already been definitively won by a landslide by both DraftKings and FanDuel?
So you and I have had this discussion many times before about does it make sense financially to go up against DraftKings and FanDuel? And the answer is 100% no. You will not take market share away from DraftKings or FanDuel. They spend spend shitloads of money, and it's even costing them money. I don't even know if DraftKings and FanDuel are profitable by any means because they're doing so many free giveaways of bonus bets. Who the hell knows if they're making any money? Now, I do hold DraftKings stock in my portfolio. Not that I own anything, so I'm not saying anything out of character return. But this is a tough situation. Penn has failed twice. I'm just going to say that now. The Barstool, when I originally saw the Barstool sportsbook deal with Penn, I said this is not going to work. It's not going to work because Barstool is not your typical like ship shape company where they're going to follow all the rules from a legal standpoint. They follow
Right.
all the rules, but from a political correctness side of things, which is what Penn Gaming was hoping for,
The answer is no.
Barstool. I was very shocked when they made. Now, Barstool was looking to get acquired, and Dave was looking to go off into the sunset a little bit. He was going to stay on for like another 2 or 3 years under a contract, and then Penn was going to take it over. But that didn't end up working out. That was the whole story where Dave Portnoy bought the company back for $1,
Right.
but he had an exclusivity situation where they couldn't take on a sports book until like a year or so after that, which that year that went up and they went with DraftKings, and they've been way better ever since because DraftKings is not pestering them about the content. Penn Gaming was pestering them about the content. They didn't want anything politically incorrect, which that wouldn't be Barstool anymore if it wasn't politically incorrect whatsoever. Now, what I would say even worse was the deal that Penn Entertainment made with ESPN for ESPN Bet.
10 years and $1.5 billion. Like, what are you thinking, man?
Well, forget the number for a second. The number is large, but forget the number. Let's put that aside for a second. But Penn Gaming and ESPN Bet. First of all, why did ESPN need to go into business for their own book? Then you have to be responsible as an operator for a gambling book or a sports book. It didn't work. They were not getting any share. Why they went away from DraftKings to operate their own book? Why? Because they wanted to basically hold the market share on their own, so they didn't have to share it with DraftKings. It didn't work. It absolutely
Or because they wanted to have their own book with their name on it, like ESPN Bet, for example, because they were so hell-bent on getting those 4 letters out there.
Well, basically what happened was when Penn Entertainment and Barstool split apart, they were desperate to find another. They used the same book technology to do ESPN Bet. So it's kind of like they just pulled the Barstool name off of it and put ESPN Bet on it. And what did that go to show you? It didn't work.
Yeah, Nick. I mean, I'm not really surprised, though, that Penn tried again and it didn't work. So there's already strike 2 for them. But I think that we're both kind of, in alignment when we say it is so damn hard, though, in where wagering is gone nowadays. Forget all the stuff, though, involving the Guardians and the NBA for a
We'll
second.
get to that later.
But just in general, though, about where sports gambling has gone, where at one point, you and I both remember, hey, it's either in Vegas or Atlantic City, nowhere else allowed. Then eventually they began to let states start partaking in it, in a way, with DraftKings, FanDuel, us obviously with Novig here until November 30th in California, for example. But also, Nick, one though would kind of wonder at some point, just for the fact, though, Nick, that DraftKings and FanDuel seem to just crush the competition. If anyone would ever say, now again, this might be off base, though, but wondering aloud, though, again, just because of Penn twice in a row trying with Barstool and ESPN, they both failed. ESPN going back in a way to the well with DraftKings. Maybe in your mind, perhaps, because you've probably been around the wagering scene more often than I have. When at one point, though, do you eventually start calling DraftKings or FanDuel having monopoly-style control over a sports book scene like this for, like, media partners, for example, or certain leagues? I think that the NFL has a deal exclusively with FanDuel that I know that they do. DraftKings, though. But could there maybe, in a way, be that kind of, not really conflict of interest, but just that two companies owning the sports betting scape and sports betting landscape, where the small man, like Penn, for example, though they're not small, but like Underdog, Prize Picks, Novig, for example,
MGM.
even, they just can't really compete at a high level against those particular books like DraftKings and FanDuel.
I don't know if it's necessarily a monopolistic situation. I think it's DraftKings and FanDuel spend shitloads of money, so that's why they're in more places than most people. Because remember, there's BetMGM, There's
Yes.
Caesars, everything in Vegas, like we were just saying, which is all over now because they all have apps.
Yeah.
So now you're running into the issue that we're having with our partner with Novig, where Governor Newsom just hates gambling whatsoever,
Right.
or sports books in general, and just makes it difficult for every person in California to want to take part, even in a small way. And like you're seeing people traveling to other states.
Right. Crossing state lines to do it. And believe it or not, I remember this happening, Nick, when the Powerball first got really popular nationwide.
Yes.
People would drive from San Diego to Yuma, Arizona, just beyond the California-Arizona border, because the Powerball initially stopped in Arizona. That was as close as you could get to in California to go and buy a Powerball ticket before it obviously went nationwide.
Which is insane. I mean, but like I said, I think it's just because DraftKings and FanDuel spend millions upon billions
Oh, yeah.
of dollars, and that's why it seems like it's a monopolistic tenure, but it's not. First of all, who the hell knows if DraftKings or FanDuel are even profitable? Now, would they be in business this long if they weren't profitable or close to it? I'm going to look this up really quick just to see if DraftKings, I mean, if they're public companies, I'm assuming they have to be somewhere profitable.
I would think they would be with how many deals they have on top of FanDuel having, or they both have their own TV networks in some way. FanDuel has the naming rights in a way to all the, de facto Bally Sports, former Fox Sports RSNs now.
So FanDuel's parent company, which I knew, Flutter Entertainment, which owns FanDuel, reported a net income profit of $162 million in 2024.
Okay.
A major improvement from a $1.2 billion loss in 2023.
Okay.
So they're in the green. They're no longer in the red. As of 2024. DraftKings is not yet profitable. It reported a net loss of close to $34 million in Q1 for 2025 and an annual net loss of $507 million in 2024. And that's why you saw DraftKings Network like drop a bunch of podcast content because they were paying too much money and not getting enough return on DraftKings accounts. FanDuel, I think now because they are profitable, can take on more of that content. Like you saw the Golix show go from DraftKings to FanDuel. You saw Stan Verrett now has a show on FanDuel. Like they're hiring talent. DraftKings is going the opposite way, where they're taking companies that are already doing their own production and throwing money into them rather than producing their own content anymore. But I could see why you would ask, like, is it a monopolistic tenure? Because those are the two that you see everywhere on TV or hear ads on the radio constantly on sports talk radio. I mean, I just think they have more market share. I don't think it has anything to do with monopolistic tenure. I would say they have about 80 to 85%.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then like MGM and Caesars and all the others probably make up the other 10 to 15%. Because you have to remember, not everyone uses FanDuel or DraftKings.
Right.
Like there is Underdog, which is still closer to FanDuel, DraftKings. PrizePicks is definitely not like those three.
No.
PrizePicks is more contest based than kind of like what a Novig, like we work with now, is more of a prediction market contest based. So it's all a matter of where you sit in the markets to figure out where you are. But Penn should just stop. Like, don't make another deal. Like, you failed twice, and now you have to figure out, do I really want to be involved? And if you remember also when they had the Barstool Sportsbook deal, they had bought The Score also, which was the Canadian scores and information app. So they're buying all these entities thinking that they were just taking over a bunch of entities that people liked and they were just putting it into an ecosystem. That's not how it works. You have to be able to make these companies profitable and run, not just say, oh, I'm slapping my name on it and hoping that it works.
Yeah, and that obviously has not worked whatsoever with Penn Entertainment. All right, Nick, big story in the NBA not involving gambling, but of course it finally happened earlier this week. Matter of fact, a day ago, Nick, but the Mavericks finally canned GM Nico Harrison and fired him on Tuesday following a 3-8 start to the season at the time of today's show that came on the heels of the ever-controversial trade of star player Luka Doncic only 9 months prior. Harrison's tenure saw the Mavs, though, reach 2 conference finals and 1 NBA finals, but the choice, though, to move Doncic to the Lakers for Anthony Davis and other assets was widely considered a catastrophic mistake, prompting fire Nico chants from the fan base at home games throughout the course of last season, post the trade, all of last season, and already part of this season as well. By the way, assistant GMs and former Mavericks great Michael Finley and Matt Riccardi have been promoted to co-basketball operations. By the way, Nick, Yahoo Sports put this out yesterday, and I want to read this real quick as I saved it. Here is everything that happened during Nico Harrison's wild last calendar year as Mavericks GM.
Is this the trades and the moves? I saw this get posted somewhere.
So this was the trade of Luka Doncic to the Lakers without informing other teams of him being available. The Mavericks having to beef up security for Harrison following the trade, was forced to have a closed-door meeting with the media to explain the trade. The Mavericks made the playoffs but lost in the play-in round. They win the draft lottery and draft Cooper Flag despite having a 1.8% chance of winning the lottery. They start the year 3-8 with both Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis both being hurt. And as you might remember, Nick, he also made the infamous quote, "There's no regrets on the trade," when asked about the Doncic-Anthony Davis trade. So, Nick, more importantly, the burning question for this topic is simple as this. Does the firing of Nico Harrison, coming only 9 months after the disastrous trade of Luka Doncic, solidify a narrative that the price of failing to manage a generational star's expectations and departure is ultimate accountability for a GM like him? What do you think?
See, I'm going to be a little bit out of the majority on this answer because I see this is the kind of can two sides of the equation be right in this situation where does it look bad that they traded their biggest star who actually admitted he wanted to stay in Dallas? He bought a house in Dallas. He lives in Dallas. It looked bad, no doubt. This was a huge trade that nobody expected, including us in the media fronts. No idea that this trade was coming for Luka. And they didn't get anything back, really, in return for this trade whatsoever. Lakers got a steal on their hands. And it just made now they hear the annoying headaches. Now, Luka in LA, and they're going to take over and the Clippers are going to be the littler brother now because of this. But, Nico Harrison had no business being the GM of this team anymore. I mean, I pulled up because I was curious to see how many trades Nico Harrison has made. And when I read some of these, so it goes all the way back to, let me see, 2021. So he traded Josh Richardson to the Celtics for Moses Brown. Uh-oh. No shit. Are you kidding me? Okay, I'll react to that in a second. He traded Quentin Grimes to the Sixers for Caleb Martin. Let's see. Traded Rashawn Holmes and a 2024 first-round pick to the Wizards for Daniel Gafford. Traded Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a 2027 first-round pick to Charlotte for P.J. Washington.
I remember that trade happening.
Traded Cason Wallace and a pick to Oklahoma City for Derek Lively.
Remember that happening.
Who's no longer there.
Yep.
Traded Kristaps Porzingis and a 2022 second-round pick to the Wizards for Spencer Dinwiddie and Davius Bertans. Dinwiddie's not there anymore.
Dinwiddie's overseas, I think, now.
Yeah. He was with the Nets, and then he got released also. And then, obviously, the big trade. Luka Doncic to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. That's a huge steal for the Lakers. And then, obviously, he gets fired with all the issues. And I played you the videos a few times that he believed he was going to win a championship or be in contention for a title next year, which is insane. Insane. They were never going to win a title. The Klay Thompson move was a good move. I'll give them that. But Kyrie's hurt. Now, the one thing I will give which is not, it's not 100% fair to Nico Harrison. The roster was completely injured coming into the season. So I can't blame him for the roster being injured. Like, if the players are not healthy, that's not on the GM.
Right.
But the way he's been acting, as a human being, the way he's been acting has been horrible. It's just like he's not answering. He's not willing to take blame for any of these moves. What did you think was going to happen when you traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers of all teams?
Yeah.
I mean, what a disaster. You traded the guy who took you to the NBA Finals. Now, was he a little bit of a head case and an ego, Luka? Yeah. But, and who knows if he would have changed his body weight situation and getting into healthier shape if he didn't go to the Lakers? I don't know. But look at him now. He's healthy. He's playing defense. He's getting back. He's running up and down the court now. Unfortunately, I think Luka had to leave there one way or the other. Because they were not going to sign him to that huge $400 million free agency extension.
No, Nick, it's simple as this. When I first joined 7 months ago, this was obviously, I think, about a month or two before I came here. Because I remember sitting at a Chili's restaurant after I had worked indoor lacrosse when the TV flashed breaking news. The Lakers have acquired Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks. The whole bar was like, gasp. Like, what just happened?
I was shocked. I literally had to get on and do a live stream for it because no one expected that.
But regardless, Nick, I remember though, so that happened. Then I came here though in April. And I remember though that one of the first 2 or 3 kind of, empty the clock style videos I made for TikTok and IG was about Nico Harrison bearing, kind of in a way digging his own grave. You don't trade a star player like Luka Doncic despite maybe his attitude, his ego. I mean, this guy carried your franchise all the way to the finals and just fell short of the finish line for the second title in franchise history. Now, was there other skeletons in the closet? We know that Nico was working for Nike and couldn't get Steph Curry to join. He went and signed with a different shoe company. That was one thing. Then obviously he went and became the Mavericks GM, though. But I think, though, you're right, though. Arrogant, defiant, pompous, egotistic, after the trade, like, hey, once we start winning games, blah, 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 blah. And Nick, I was sitting here, like pondering, like the ponderer statue. People are out here taking pot shots at me for doing glamour shots for YouTube. No, I'm sitting here thinking to myself like this, how can you, though, as a general manager of a franchise in a fairly decent market size in Dallas, with every team in every league playing there in some way, but how, though, can you, how do you have the courage to trade away a fan favorite? What did you expect? Nick, I think I remember that first home game, like yourself, way more than any other game that NBA season because of the fact that the Mavericks began to censor the fan base. Any Luka Doncic merchandise, they were told that they couldn't wear it. They were given a free T-shirt. They had to rip up signs and, put them in the trash can. They had to beef up security around the GM suite and around Nico in general. The whole game, though, Nick, it's fire Nico chants all the way through. Then he made the stupid Ashley mark, though. Hey, defense wins championships. When we're back in contention in 2 years, we're going to be fine. I think, though, it finally came to a head, though, Nick, with how this team has gone. Now, again, you're right, though. You can't really blame the injuries because we know that Kyrie's been beat up his whole career. Anthony Davis has had no luck whatsoever staying healthy, minus 2020 in the bubble season. And that was part of it, though. But again, trading the franchise superstar. Ironically enough, Nick, that's going to be episode 8, I think, of Small Market Edition for the podcast. And we can use this as an example of when a star player leaves a market in any way, shape, form, or size to go in this way, though. Again, now, is it trade, free agents, whatever? But I think, though, Nick, finally, though, I think for the Maverick fan base, they got their wish, and I'm glad that this move finally got made. And you hate to see anyone lose their job, though. But it's like we said, though, the ego, the arrogance, the pompous attitude, how egotistic Nico Harrison had been in those 9 months. Good riddance. I'm sorry. Good riddance.
I mean, and I have some of the quotes, but do you remember the burning of the jerseys outside of?
Oh, yeah.
American Airlines Arena.
So there was burning of the jerseys. There was people dressed up as pallbearers carrying a casket. And by the way, that also was happening, Nick, while the Dallas Stars are playing the Columbus Blue Jackets that afternoon at
Yeah.
the AC.
Yes, and tough situation. I feel bad for Mavericks fans because
Absolutely.
they haven't won since 2011. I mean,
2011, yeah.
and I shouldn't say since 2011. That's not that long ago. But my point is, they haven't had a good team since 2011. Dirk, who's on Prime Video's free, is beating the crap out of his team that he played for. What does that tell you? If
I'm sure Steve Nash, one-time Maverick, is probably doing the same thing too, because he was a Maverick at one point in the late 90s.
No, but it hurts more
It hurts more though for Dirk because Dirk played his whole career there.
Now, the quotes, because we were asking about them.
Yeah,
so here's what he said on the Luka trade. Quote, "There's no regrets on the trade. Part of my job is to do the best thing for the Mavericks. Some of the decisions I'm going to make are going to be unpopular, and that's my job, and I have to stand by it." Really? Really? You have no regrets on that trade? You sitting on the scrap heap now, do you regret that trade?
More importantly, you had a whole entire fan base in the DFW who hate your guts.
I mean, to say that so he said some of the decisions I'm going to make are going to be unpopular. Gee, you think?
Thank you, Captain Obvious. You trade the star player off the franchise. I would think that you would have regrets now.
And then he also goes on to say, well, there's no guarantee he would have signed the Supermax. Excuse me.
You still don't do this, you idiot.
No. But wait a minute. Time out. Okay. He would have, because he was with the Mavericks his whole career, they could offer him far more money than the Lakers or any team. He was eligible for $400 million.
And no one would have been able to sign him probably because of how much. Yeah.
Not even close. They wouldn't have been, I think the most at the time would have been like 270 or 275.
Probably half, I'd say. Probably half.
But $400 million he would have been eligible for. Come on, man. Don't tell me you don't think he would have signed for that money. Are you kidding me? He would have taken that money in an instant. He wanted to be there.
I think he wanted to be. I feel like he would have wanted to be like Dirk and be a Maverick for life, honestly.
He couldn't believe he was traded. Do you remember?
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what? I'm getting traded? Yeah. And then he also goes on to say, I did know Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level. Come on.
That was my second reaction video. Again, pondering, how can you say that you don't know how valuable a player like Luka Doncic is to the Dallas Mavericks? That went to my point, though, Nick, about, pondering, that stupid comment that we got about, me sitting like this. But again, I'm thinking, though, that just tells me that you're out of touch with not just the franchise, but you're out of touch with your own fan base. That's a red flag. I'm sorry.
Well, it also sounds like he was just the executive, Nico Harrison, not the human being, right. Nico Harrison either. But I almost fell out of my chair when I saw that last quote say, I didn't know Luka was important to the fan base. All right, he said, I did know Luka was important to the fan base, but I didn't quite know it to that level. Come on, man.
Quit playing stupid, buddy.
That is no, this is Patrick. It feels like a Patrick Star dumbass statement that he would make during an episode of SpongeBob.
Would you like a job starting now?
Yeah, literally. And then I forgot. And there's quotes here about his qualifications and the team's future.
Who cares about qualifications?
No, I have to read this because it's funny. So I'm going to say this without being arrogant. First of all, that's not a good sentence to start with if you have to say I'm not trying to be arrogant. I was an executive at a Fortune 200 company. We all know it's Nike. So I had teams of 150 people. I had budgets bigger than the NBA budget that I was in control of. I think I was a risk, but I was outside the box. But I think sometimes outside the box is good. Is it? Is it?
No.
And then the dumb quote, which he said over the last week, you'll see next year when our team comes back, we're going to be competing for a championship. In what dimension?
Yeah, maybe in the new NBA Europe League you might be, but not when you're 3-8 and at the bottom of the conference standings right now.
And then the one that put it over the top for me. I think I have done a really good job here. I don't think I can be judged by the injuries this year. I think I should be judged by the totality from end to end. Okay, he's half right.
Yeah, I was going to say he's partially right. He's not even half right. He's partially right because injuries are out of your control because you can't control what one's body's going to do.
So But to say that he's done a really good job here, like,
No,
have you won a
absolutely
title
not.
in here? When did he take over as GM of the Mavs?
9 months ago.
Okay, he has not won a title. So, and I hate to say this, but now we judge everything based on winning a title. I mean, I wouldn't say that's even a bad thing. If you don't win a title, you shouldn't keep your job, right? I mean, like,
And to backtrack to that phony baloney remark about that we're going to be competing for titles, the Mavericks are 14th right now in the Western Conference, tied with
3-8.
Sacramento at 3-8. New Orleans has one fewer win, otherwise they'd be in the basement of the Western Conference right now.
Now, like I said, you don't have Kyrie right now. Anthony Davis, that was probably the worst trade in NBA history because Anthony Davis can't stay on a damn court if his life depended on it.
Nick, before we move on, can we compare this maybe in a way to the Herschel Walker trade?
I would say this is worse.
I think it's worse.
This is an all-time superstar, which is now going to thrive in LA. The Lakers are probably saying, Drew Bucket, where do I get it?
Oh, believe me, every time the Lakers win, friends of mine will write on Instagram, thank you, Nico, every time that they win.
And by the way, the amount of triple-doubles that Luka has had already, the record amount of statistics he's putting up,
he's off to a historic start. It's insane.
We might be talking MVP for this guy, possibly.
I would give him a vote, absolutely.
Can you imagine if he's MVP? What Nico Harrison and even the Mavs, at the end of the season, are going to be like, oh,
and more importantly, Nick, Luka and a bunch of role players are doing this without Mr. James because of sciatica.
Well, that was the whole plan, though, that you bring Luka in. He's the second guy right now. Right. But then it becomes Luka's team, and the Lakers actually have some really good role players.
They do.
Now, like
a great roster around those two, which has been missing for, I think, the last 5 years since they won in the bubble.
Because, like, they have a Reeves, even though a certain somebody thinks Connect is way over the top. I think Connect is a really good player. I think he can build. This allows him and Reeves to build into a player, knowing that
Andre Ayton's actually playing well, considering Jackson Hayes could be a bona fide star one day if he, keeps going how he's going.
But having Luka allows them not to force being pushed up to the top of the roster. It gives them a voice. It gives them somebody to be a leader. Who would have thought I would said Luka would have been a decent leader? Considering,
and not just that, the Lakers right now are 8-3, and they're fourth right now in the Western Conference.
I think they have a chance to make a run. Like if LeBron can get back healthy, and he's not going to play every day, but if they can get him healthy, and
as long as he's healthy, I think they got a shot.
I don't know if they'll win a title because that might be.
I think Oklahoma City's probably still the team to beat right now. San Antonio's coming into their prime in a way, but they're going to be a great team to watch while the Mavericks get to painfully watch Luka and the Lakers succeed while they fail.
Everyone's looking up at OKC. That's what I'm going to say right now. That you're not beating them. But OKC and Denver, I think, are the two teams you're looking up at right now.
That's fair. All right, Nick, back to the gambling scandals of professional sports. We knew about this, though, Nick, in a way, but now it finally became official within the last couple of days. But the sports gambling sagas have now reached Major League Baseball. We already knew, though, about Guardian pitchers Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase being, in a way, linked to a scandal, but they have now been officially indicted over the weekend on federal fraud charges, accused of taking thousands of dollars in bribes to help gamblers win prop bets placed on specific pitches, including the speed and the outcome. Ortiz was arrested by the FBI and released on a $500,000 bond, while Clase is believed to be out of the country at this time. In response, MLB also announced new plans to limit pitch-by-pitch wagering, capping wagers at only $200 and excluding them from parlays, highlighting the league's fear of corruption and at the most grand of levels of the game. So, Nick, with the MLB scandal now exposing the manipulation of specific pitch outcomes, has the integrity crisis in pro sports gambling reached a point now where the leagues must now fundamentally restructure their relationship with betting to ensure the very fundamentals of the game are not being compromised? All I have to say is, damn.
That's my first reaction to that.
Welcome to the Clown Show. We got fun and games.
This is unbelievable. Like, this reminds me of Pete Rose way back in the day. Like, I think this is worse than Pete Rose in a sense because
Million times over.
Pete Rose, for the most part, was a manager when
Yes.
this was going on. Now, he was a player manager, but he was mostly managing the
Right.
team. Now, you could still get vital information as a manager that you do as a player, but these guys were purposely throwing balls to give gamblers information so they can bet in the middle of games. There's proof. People put videos out of them basically spiking pitches. And people were probably thinking that, like, oh, like they slipped on the mound or
Lost the grip of the pitch.
no, they were purposely spiking pitches. Now, this was not until I didn't know this, but like until a couple of years ago, you couldn't, this is a new thing that you could bet. First of all, I call these degenerate gambler bets that you're betting on pitches, could be balls and strikes.
Much like we have been wagering or playing the first basket for the last couple of nights in the NBA.
Oh, but that's more for fun than anything. I don't know any information or anything. But
I also think, though, Nick, I saw part of a Twitter thread that we looked at that it said this may have been going on for 2 full seasons before it came to the limelight this last week.
It's been going on since 2023. That was the report that had come out. And like you had said, Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase have been indicted on federal fraud charges. These are serious, significant charges.
You want to know how serious, folks? How about a 65-year prison sentence?
Now, let's be clear about one thing, because I think you know what I'm about to say. They're athletes. So, now, do I think they're going to completely escape jail time? No.
Absolutely not.
They got indicted, I think, on every charge there is in the book.
And every charge minus one of them was 20 years. So 3 of them were for 20 years, then there was 1 for 5.
So I think they're going to do jail time, even if it's 2 to 3 years each, or because they're athletes, are they going to get house arrest for 2
I was going to say house arrest, home confinement,
which is kind of ridiculous considering that there's 65 years total of. Now, let me be clear about one thing. Just because it says there's up to 65 years doesn't mean they're going to serve 65 years.
Right.
Remember what they say, you get, what is it? Fair trial in front of your peers. I mean, so they all got to come together. Obviously, they were indicted already. I don't know what the sentences are going to be, but Ortiz, I think, had to post $500,000 bond. 50,000 of it secured. He was granted release on condition he surrendered his passport. Where does that sound familiar from?
Terry Rozier.
So, again with this shit, like, of people, why do professional athletes have to gamble when they're making decent salaries in professional sports? And by the way, don't give me this bullshit that they're at the bottom, because they are technically, because they're still younger players. Do you want to know what the minimum salary in Major League Baseball is?
750,000.
Yeah, that's more than the average person makes in this country.
$750,000.
So don't give me this malarkey that, because they're at the bottom, they have to go. That doesn't mean you have to break the laws, right?
Right.
This whole thing is insane. And then you have Manfraud at the top, who is trying. We'll lower the bets to $200 because maybe that's
really going to keep people away, Nick. And you know all these scandals are only going to get worse before they get better. And again, we've tried to come up with a formula, some kind of a way that leagues could somehow eradicate players wagering. Again, we've thought of a 0 tolerance policy. We've thought of, no prop betting. Again, as the NCAA wanted that to happen during March Madness last year. I think that we can throw everything at throw every dart at the dartboard and not hit the bullseye, because there's just not there. I don't think there's going to be a proper way for professional leagues, especially, to crack down on all of this stuff happening. And again, I think it's only going to get worse before it gets better anytime soon.
No, the answer is all the leagues get together. Like I had said to you over the past couple of days, And if you want to include the UFC and you want to include soccer and
Boxing.
whatever, everyone needs to come together and sign something together. Now, this is rare because most leagues operate on different rules.
Correct.
But there needs to be a rule. No betting on your sport that you're in. Zero tolerance. And if you get caught, that's the end of your career in the sport. But of course, you have the idiot in charge who comes out and says that we're establishing a nationwide $200 betting limit on baseball wagers centered on individual pitches and prohibiting such bets from being included in parlays in an attempt to decrease the incentive of manipulation. Really?
No.
Just don't allow it.
Yeah.
How hard is it to say, guys, if you bet on baseball, you are banned.
Yeah. Not no like 30 game suspension. That needs to be a Pete Rose death sentence where it's a lifetime ban.
But listen to this, though. So, federal prosecutors unsealed an indictment that charged Ortiz and Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase for their alleged roles in a gambling scheme centered on whether individual pitches would be balls or strikes, as well as the over-under on the velocity of some pitches. First of all, I've never heard that before. I didn't even know you could bet on the velocity of over-under on a pitch. According to the indictment, gamblers won approximately $450,000 on bets on individual pitches during the alleged scheme.
Whoop-de-doo.
MLB said, this is great. This is a quote from Manfred. MLB said reducing the amount bettors can win on such markets will de-incentivize attempts at manipulation. Sir, it will not.
No, they're still going to find a way to do it.
They'll just place more bets. Baseball has worked with the sports book industry over the past 7 years to, quote, uphold our most important priority, protecting the integrity of games for the fans. What integrity are you protecting?
There is no integrity now. I mean, if anything, Nick, the NBA has exposed with their gambling scandal, integrity of the game is now no longer a thing because of all the deals that these leagues have with, FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, you name it. I mean, they're like I said, this whole thing is only going to get worse before it gets better, and people can fight me on that because I just don't see how there's going to be a clear path forward to where this sort of stuff and this behavior of athletes is finally going to stop. I mean, what more will it take? Is it going to take more arrests to be made of high-profile players or coaches like the NBA? I don't know. I mean, more importantly, what will it take, though, for players to learn to not be around the wrong people, like this?
Can I tell you? So I'm reading the ESPN story. Can you take a guess how many sports books Major League Baseball has a deal with? Because I'm looking at the list.
I'm going to go with 4.
24.
Holy cow.
I didn't even know 24 sports books existed that were legal in the U.S. I'll read this list quickly.
Wow.
So Bally's, obviously, Bet365, BetMGM. Some of these I've never heard of. Bet99, Better, which is the Paul brothers. I think that's Jake Paul's company.
Yeah.
Caesars, Circa, DraftKings, 888, Fanatics, FanDuel, GameWise, never heard of. Hard Rock Bet, Intralot, never heard of. Jack Entertainment, never heard of. Mojo, I've heard of. North Star Gaming, never heard of. Oak Lawn, never heard of. Penn.
North Star must be for like Minnesota, I would say, or
That's
assume.
Yeah. Points Bet.
Yep.
Potawatomi, never heard of that. Rush Street and Underdog.
Hotel Potomac might be in Wisconsin.
So 24 books.
24 too many.
And you're telling me, and you're wondering why your players have a gambling problem? Why they're getting caught? Why they're getting in bed with shady people?
Exactly. That's what I was saying about getting in bed with shady people. Thank you for that.
Now, do you remember the story from Governor DeWine that we did that he wanted to put a ban on micro proposition?
Yes.
And at the time, I had said, you kind of can't do that because that's not fair to the outside public. People who are not athletes, they should be allowed to make prop bets.
Now it's almost like you wonder maybe Governor DeWine was correct.
I hope he's just talking about athletes and not. I think he was talking about everybody, which that wouldn't be fair to the public.
Yeah, that would not be fair to the average Joe who's able to wager in their state when it comes to prop betting. If you change the language in the bill to where it says that athletes can no longer partake in play-by-play style wagers, then fine by me.
Take the athletes out. That's fine. I'd rather. First of all, these athletes are too connected. Remember what I said last week about LeBron having the talent deal with DraftKings? He's not allowed to do any NBA stuff because
he was, and again, he was codenamed in the lawsuit defamation documents as like code name about wagering on the Lakers, for example, by the people that were linked.
The Damon Jones situation.
Yes.
He was LeBron's injury information and sharing it with bettors. Let's see if there's anything else in the story. DraftKings and FanDuel's, the two largest sportsbook operators, said they've agreed to adjust their baseball betting menus to abide by MLB's requests and believe the legal market's ability to detect bad actors will act as a deterrent to combat futures. No, it won't. They're going to do it more.
Yeah, literally, Nick, and I hate to say this, but when you said that about baseball, all I thought of was you sounded like the Peanuts gang teacher, because that's all it sounds like whenever baseball opens their mouth about gambling is wah 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 wah. This isn't going to solve the problem.
Did Rob really think that was going to come over with positive paralysis? That like
yes.
We lowered it to 200 because we think that number is low enough.
$200. That's for passing go on Monopoly. Give me a break, man, fraud. Nick, let's move on here on a bit of a sour note, sadly, and sad note too. But of course, we know the story about Dallas Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Nealon being found dead last week of a apparent suicide at the age of 24 years old. His death occurred after a police chase related to a traffic violation and a subsequent crash. Police revealed that before his death, authorities had received word that Nealon might be suicidal, with a group text sent to people close to him saying goodbye. Information also indicated a history of mental health issues and illnesses, and that he was also armed, highlighting the immense mental health struggles that remain often hidden or overlooked among pro athletes, which also, Nick, led to Dak Prescott, who we know lost his brother during the COVID pandemic, same exact circumstances of suicide. That obviously led to him getting body slammed by Skip Bayless, but who is he to open his trap about anything going on in the sports world? But Nick, though, in the wake, though, of this very tragic story, I mean, this happened, I think, literally after one of Marshawn's best games of his young career already. Again, he was only 2 years into the league, if memory serves me correct. Though, again, he had an interception for a touchdown, I think, versus Arizona in that game. But Nick, though, in the wake, though, of Marshawn Nealon's tragic death, what actionable steps, though, must the NFL, and for that matter, every sports league out there and their teams take to shift the mental health approach from reactive crisis management to proactive, continuous, and unstigmatized support for the person? Sadly, Nick, even though that we all want to talk about mental health nowadays, certain sports, though, Nick, just don't want to adapt to the changing times. So again, and in football and hockey, you're expected to kind of, in a way, grow up and man up and shake it off and not, open up about it, though. But I think, though, Nick, mainly with the NFL, and again, this is partially what you'll hear, though, too, in a way, in episode 1 of Small Market Edition in a couple of weeks. You'll hear this, too, on Benchmarks later on as the year goes on. When Benchmarks debuts, though, is that, Nick, the NFL has not been able to shake so many lawsuits about concussions, CTE, Steve McNair, Dave Duerson, Junior Seau. Marshawn Nealon now, I think, joins that group, not because of CTE, Nick, though, but again, the mental toll that playing this game at a high level takes on these players day in and day out again, along with, the nature of the game being physical, the shots to the head, whatnot. But Nick, this was such a tragic story. Again, I don't watch the NFL, but you cannot be affected or, feel this in your bones, though, when you see someone 24 years old, Nick, 2 years into their professional career, sadly commit this heinous act against themselves, though. But Nick, your thoughts about what could be done, though, here, but also your thoughts about Marshawn's suicide, though, that happened last week.
This is a conversation you and I have had many times on the show about the NFL and mental
1,000%.
health, where we're in a situation where the NFL needs to man up, no pun intended, and get this mental health situation figured out, because these guys take massive beatings. It's probably the most physical sport, or I shouldn't say probably, it is the most physical sport out of all professional sports. And they get their heads and the brains beat in, and we have the CTE issues and we have the mental health issues. And I don't know how you fix this, because we're in a situation now where you had lawsuits being filed against the NFL due to physical and mental health. Like, how do you fix it? I don't know how you fix it, because I don't know if Commissioner Roger Goodell, cares about the players. He cares more about the number you see at the bottom of the line every single day, week, year, you name it. It's all about bottom line. It's no longer about the mental health or the physical health of these players. And that's part of the problem, where everyone says, "Oh, well, these leagues care about the athletes." Do they? Do they care about the athletes, or do they care more about the money and the profit that the leagues are making? So that's a situation. This is a sad story. Don't get me wrong. Now, looking at the situation and running from the police, that's a whole different scenario. And actually, I have the dispatch audio also, which we can listen to.
Yeah.
But this was kind of a very unfortunate situation. But here's the dispatch audio.
We're talking to the girlfriend. She's trying to call his agent, but we're trying to get him to call him first. But she's saying he is armed and has a history of mental illness, and her quote was, "He will end it all."
Good copy. You probably ran back to the car to get the gun. 10-4.
If she calls him, we'll let you know.
Good copy. Alright, y'all do me a favor. Everybody stay with a buddy. Don't go looking alone. This guy is armed.
President, they just received a text from him, a group text saying goodbye. They're concerned for his welfare. They do not have a key to the apartment.
David 7, I copy. I advise on this call. We were just out there. There's nobody at the apartment. I'll contact him by phone.
We have a lieutenant calling in from Plano advising that the NFL is calling Plano PD and the subject is texting his family goodbye.
So that's a scenario right there that, first of all, the NFL is calling.
Yeah, why are they calling? Like, that makes no sense.
Unless they were told. But how did the NFL find out so fast?
I mean, I wonder the same thing. Like, were they notified by family? Were they notified by maybe his agent? I think we heard that the dispatch audio said that, his agent was may have been on the phone. Maybe he was talking to the league, or they were talking to the league in some way. I don't know, Nick, though. You hear that 1:06 long clip, though, and it's just so damn disheartening to hear that. And then knowing, Nick, that there's a family out there bearing their son in the prime of his career, though, after just 2 years in the NFL because he wasn't mentally healthy. Like, you have to ask, but why is there not being enough done by every sport out there? Not just the NFL, but I mean every league around the country, around the world, where we can finally stop stigmatizing mental health not being a factor.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the NFL only cares about their bottom line. Like, they're going to claim that they say they care about the players and mental health, but they really don't. And like, that's harsh, but it's true. They care about the bottom line, and that's it. They don't care about mental health. Let's call a spade, because they they want to see 15 billion, 16 billion at the bottom line, and they don't care if players get their brains beat in, unfortunately. Like, they'll say they do, and that's why those CTE documentaries were done. And you and I have said, like, and I think we have I don't know if you're doing it for small market or benchmarks, the whole Junior Seau story.
Benchmarks.
That's a huge story. Like, if I remember correctly, didn't you say he drove the car off the
before his suicide, he tried once and he drove off the cliffs by the beach in northern San Diego, and all he got was bumps and bruises and scrapes. But I think he also got cited for impaired driving, DUI.
Well, he drank a lot, right?
Yeah,
Was
and
that
then
the golf outing, right?
what was that?
Was that the golf outing story you told me, right?
It was part of it, and then I think a few years beforehand is when he drove off the cliff, and it was obviously massive story here locally in town.
That was the 19th hole story you told me, though, right?
That was also in the 30 for 30 about Junior's life that featured, former teammates, Jim Trotter, you name it, on ESPN Plus.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say about the NFL anymore. Like, I like watching it, but at the same time, there's business and politically incorrect issues that happen with the NFL that I don't think they're ever going to get under control, or they're not willing to take the hit on the bottom line to actually do the correct thing. Before we move on to hour two, as you're hanging out with us today, remember that you're part of Playback's big day. It's all about breaking NBA viewership records and proving that the future of sports belongs to fans and creators, not locked up behind stinking paywalls. Join the movement today by tuning into any NBA game on Playback, including our room, and spreading the word with the tag hashtag Playback's Big Day. Also, Tony Reale will be live on the big mothership platform, playback.tv/playback. And he'll be doing an around the room style back from his old show Around the Horn for 23 years?
23 years.
So, and we're hearing that he might be moving and shaking around different communities, hopefully. So you never know. He could end up in this room or any other room across the platform. So make sure you join us for Playback's Big Day, hashtag Playback's Big Day, and our room, playback.tv/ETB network. And join us for all the fun. We'll be focusing on ESPN doubleheaders, but you'll see a ton of other games. And you're going to see a total of 10 of us at some point within that room. So make sure you join us. All right, last couple stories for this hour. Obviously, the legacy of Paul Tagliabue. Former NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue passed away at the age of 84 from heart failure complicated by Parkinson's disease. Tagliabue served as the commissioner from 1989 to 2006, overseeing an era of significant growth, including the expansion of the NFL to 32 teams and negotiating lucrative television contracts. He notably implemented the Rooney Rule, requiring teams to interview minority candidates for coaching vacancies, and avoided a large labor stoppage during his 17-year tenure, leaving a complex but ultimately defining legacy on the business of football. How should the sports business world remember the legacy of Paul Tagliabue, whose tenure was marked by immense financial growth and progressive initiatives like the Rooney Rule, but also by the rise of legal challenges related to concussions and team relocation disputes?
I think I remember Paul Tagliabue a bit more, Nick, for the NFL Play 60 initiative. That I think that became a thing, though, late 90s, early 2000s. I remember being in elementary school, Nick. You probably remember, too, the Gatorade pass, punt, and kick. That was kind of like the NFL version of like the Youth Home Run Derby as we see nowadays with, RBI or whatever with USA Baseball. And I remember, though, when we would compete in it, we got a certificate saying that, Callum McClurg partook in the 1999-2000 Gatorade NFL pass, punt, and kick competition. Bottom right corner, Commissioner Paul Tagliabue would sign it. And I thought that was very cool, though, as a young kid, seeing a league commissioner, when I cared about the NFL, actually signing a document for you that said, yeah, you partook in this thing, congratulations. You didn't win win, but hey, this is a nice little token of appreciation.
Do you have it?
It's somewhere like locked up. I mean, I got a bunch of them though when I was in elementary school though. So trust me on that though. But I think though, more importantly though, Nick, I think you remember a commissioner who's able to navigate all of the, the PR and the Players Association strife, though, of like, no lockouts, growing the league to what it is now. You remember him, though, too, for, 32 teams, making it a spectacle on television. I remember him being, I think, pretty easygoing with players and with the owners. I also do think I remember him saying, though, I think it may have been him, though, then it led to Roger, just, in perspective, hey, San Diego, we love having you as a Super Bowl city, though, but you got to get a new stadium sometime soon, because I think the last one was 03, which was in the middle of Paul's tenure, which kind of began to where Roger kind of began to shadow Paul for when it would happen, though. But obviously, I think, though, Nick, the only small blip on the radar is that this was the beginning, though, of what we just talked about, though, with Marshawn Nealon, but about the concussion lawsuits, though, that kind of bled, though, into the early stages of Goodell's run as commissioner, though, involving, and again, I think about these three guys, though, a lot, though, but again, I look at Steve McNair, Dave Duerson, and obviously Gene Urseo. Again, they all played during Paul's time. Paul, though, in a way, though, Nick, was very much not really defiant, but he was kind of more like, there's no link between playing the game and having, a brain injury or a head injury, though. Obviously, that bled, though, into how Goodell's been very much a pompous ass when it comes to, concussions and lawsuits and CTE, that I think that the league, though, has tried in a very small way to repair the damage, though, but it's not been enough, though. I do think, though, Nick, though, that Tagliabue probably there's only been like what, 3 NFL commissioners since the merger in 1970 between Rozelle, Tagliabue, and Goodell. That's almost in a way like the Rooneys, how the Steelers have only had 3 head coaches in like in their recent franchise history. I like that rule, though, too, Nick, because it's in a way it's also led to other leagues having their own version of the rule, like the West Coast Conference has the Bill Russell rule. You must interview minority candidates for every head coaching position that you have a team in the conference, which I think, though, obviously goes to Bill's legacy again, playing at San Francisco, 11-time champion, the run with the Celtics, though, and whatnot. But I like, though, that Tagliabue kind of, in a way, thought outside the box, so especially, though, Nick, much like the WNBA, it's a league built by black men and black women. And I think that Paul even said, we can't be out here judging books by covers. What does again, I think the perfect example, Nick, is Eric Bieniemy, longtime former Charger running back, though, who has always, I think, though, been, kind of in a way snubbed in people's minds for head coaching jobs, though. But look at everywhere he's been, though, in some ways, an offensive coordinator or whatever, that he can, lead a program or a team, and, sometime down the road, though. If it wasn't for the Rooney Rule and for Paul Tagliabue, Nick, he would never get a chance to do so. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, this guy broke a lot of walls and did a lot of huge things for the sport, but was kind of ignorant on the front of concussions, CTE. And that led to the NFLPA, and also, I can't remember the name of the group that does the CTE stuff and the concussion stuff, like almost like the NFL alumni in a sense. Yeah. Like it got huge, like to the point like where they were suing. Now, I think they won a case not too long ago, but do you realize how much money each person's going to get? It's like flat nothing almost. Right. So how this problem is fixed, I couldn't tell you. I don't know. No. So Tagliabue wasn't a bad commissioner because obviously he expanded the NFL, which needed to be done so they could hit more markets. He was the first to really negotiate lucrative television deals. Now, I think that Roger took it way too out of control because now you have 7 million TV deals along with streaming, and I can't keep track of which shit belongs to which platform. But I think Paul was a better commissioner than Roger because Roger is somewhat ignoring some of the issues that are going on with mental health, with CTE, with whatever. I mean, heck, his offices in New York were attacked by a Canadian football player
who had early level signs of CTE after he was killed.
And he he made basically PR statements rather than dealing with it in a real way, saying, "Oh, maybe we have a problem with mental health, or maybe we have a problem with CTE." But I told you, it's that bottom line, because all that Roger cares about is the money. And I don't think he's ever going to deal with this. And that's why you're going to see continuous lawsuits when it comes to CTE and to mental health, because Roger only cares about the money.
We'll see where it goes. But again, remembering Paul Tagliabue again losing his battle with Parkinson's in wake of heart failure over the course of the weekend. Nick, last story from hour one, as it bleeds into hour two, but who really cares? Again, folks, you're also, again, as Nick said, this is all a part of Playback's big day. Again, trying our best to dismantle some institutions when it comes to paywalls, keeping fans from watching games. Again, as a reminder, ESPN legend Tony Reali is hosting Around the Room, our new Playback-wide version of Around the Horn at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. That will lead into our coverage here of the NBA at 3:45 Pacific, 6:45 Eastern. Nick, more involving Netflix, reportedly now being in talks with SiriusXM Radio to license their video podcast into a major move to expand its content and push further into the audio-video space. The deal could potentially include exclusive rights for the video podcast on Netflix's platform, mirroring past attempts to lock content away from competitors like YouTube, which also highlights the growing value of established podcast IP as major streamers seek new verticals for subscriber engagement. Nick, if Netflix successfully licenses SiriusXM Radio's video podcast exclusively, does this begin to signal that major streamers view established audio IP as a key competitive tool to draw viewers away from YouTube's dominance in the visual podcast space? More importantly, Nick, why? We're talking about breaking down paywalls. Why are you people doing this crap? Make it stop.
I don't know what to say anymore. I mean, we talked again last week. We talked about how The Ringer and Spotify are making deals with Netflix to put their podcast inventory on there. And yes, Christy, stop the insanity. Agreed. I mean, so now Netflix is basically trying to take over the video podcasting game. Is that what we're getting at here between The Ringer and now this with SiriusXM, which that doesn't make any sense because SiriusXM is already a paywall, a subscription service that you have to pay for if you want Sirius. So the video portions are already in there if you're going to watch. So now, I guess, well, this is a licensee, so I guess they would keep it on their platform, but it would also be on Netflix, essentially. I don't know if it's ever going to draw viewers away from YouTube. YouTube is considered the biggest video platform when it comes to creativity and finding what you want to watch.
Podcasts. I mean, live radio's gone that way already, Nick, where I think every radio station, it seems like, now does a YouTube simulcast.
Right. So I'm not a fan of this. I mean, you're putting more stuff behind paywalls. Look at what Playback's trying to do today. Okay? Where they're trying to build more people. Now, you still need a league pass or whatever to watch the NBA, but that's on your own fruition, not this where you have to, forced to pay.
Right.
For what you're doing. So I want to avoid the paywalls. I don't want more of them, but apparently everyone, the leagues believe and the content companies believe.
As if leagues like the NFL need any more of people's money, for God's sakes.
I mean, what? They're making like $15-16 billion a year now. And
that's with them having 2 Christmas Day games now because they have to, crush the NBA on Christmas Day all of a sudden, which makes no damn sense.
Ironically, on Netflix.
On Netflix, nonetheless, too.
Here's the problem. So, you've heard me say this before, where Netflix and Amazon have what that most networks don't have as much of now. It's not a trick question.
I can't even think of it right now. Yeah.
They have 10 to 20 times more money or more than an ESPN, a CBS, a Fox, an NBC. Look at what Amazon spent on the NFL for Thursday. 11 years, $11 billion deal. $1 billion a year for one game on Thursday. You know what that is to them?
Pocket change.
I'll just sweep that off my shoulder. We'll make that up in whatever. Netflix, now, it might hurt Netflix more than it hurts Amazon. But Netflix still has a shitload of money. If you look at their stock, like Netflix is trading at like somewhere between $800 and $1,000 a share, if I'm not mistaken. So they're making so much money, it's not even funny.
They are up, by the way, on Wall Street by 2.16% today at 24.59 today. Netflix stock.
That's how much it is per share?
Yeah, they're up today.
But do you have the share number or like how much it is per share? I'm just curious because I'm going to look that up really fast. Oh, they're close to $1,200 per share. $1,200 a share. So they're making money. Like those two companies are going to dominate this space. So to them, there's, and I think I said this to you last night, which they're a content provider. That's what they are. Netflix and Amazon are content providers. So they're saying, okay, these people watch podcasts, whether it's listening to audio or watching on video. If we offer it on our Netflix platform, then people who already have the platform, oh, I don't have to leave the platform to go find the video. So I get why they're doing it. But at the same time, am I going to go purchase the platform because I want to watch a video podcast?
No.
If that's the only thing I'm doing.
Right.
I don't think it's for that customer. I don't think it's for the person who says, I'm looking for my favorite video podcast. I'm going to buy Netflix. They're looking for the person who likes watching video podcasts, likes Netflix, and says, oh, I don't have to leave my platform anymore. I can continue to watch and stream on Netflix. That's the customer I think they're looking for.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I can barely keep up right now with watching local radio simulcast on YouTube and watching our content. No thanks. I don't know. All right, Nick, hour two finally here as we get to it here. 17 minutes at the top of the hour. Nick, two-part question or two-part topic, I should say, involving your boy Stephen A. Smith, though. Let's get to the first one, though, where Stephen A. Smith now, Nick, is caught up in a controversy over his endorsement of the Solitaire cash game app owned by Papaya Gaming, which is fighting a federal lawsuit alleging it falsely markets games of skill. Stephen A. capitalized on a viral moment of him playing Solitaire during last year's NBA Finals that had all of us going nuts to help promote the app. The scandal has also led fellow ESPN personalities like Nina Kimes, Dan Orlovsky, and Laura Rutledge to all make public statements confirming that they have withdrawn their support from the app, creating a very public internal fuse at the network. So, Nick, your thoughts about when an off-field controversy involving a massive star like Stephen A. Smith results in public and professional withdrawal of support from fellow ESPN personalities? Does it show a tipping point where athlete and media endorsement deals must be held to a higher ethical standard?
This was probably the dumbest story of all time I ever saw. Number one,
was it dumb because of the fact he got caught playing Solitaire while he should be worrying about watching the game that he was working at, or just the whole charade in general?
The charade is dumb because he basically turned not working of all things, and getting distracted by Solitaire into an endorsement gig. Are you kidding me? You make millions of freaking dollars already.
What's he, like $28-30 million a year?
Between Sirius and ESPN, he's going to make close to $40 million a year.
Holy Nikes.
We talked about it, actually. I think it was closer to 35. But my point is,
still,
that's an athlete salary. But to turn that charade of him getting caught on during an NBA Finals game and turn it into an endorsement deal, and with a sketchy company, to say the least. You and I have said that we've seen this shady app all over social media, Facebook, a lot.
Not just Solitaire, but a bunch of these games, though, Nick, are the same exact way.
Oh, well, if you come on and you play our app, you make money if you just play the games. Newsflash, everybody. Those are scams. And a lot of times, like this app, supposedly, which talks about being games of skill, which you put here in quote. Yes, Christy's right. I've seen it on TikTok too. But to say this is a game of skill when the reports were that they were using bots to beat you, that's illegal because that's no longer a game of skill. I was kind of shocked though. I'm not shocked by Stephen A, but I was shocked by
everyone else who made some kind of. I mean, Mina Kimes said, "Hey, I effed up, believing this whole thing was real or being true."
But I'm wondering because they all chose to endorse the Solitaire cash game app.
Yeah.
After Stephen A did it. And then all of a sudden they pull their tweets for their support. Oh, look, we're playing this great game because Stephen A told us to go play this, and we're probably being paid a lot of money too. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Mina Kimes came out and said that if she ever made any money from it, she would give it away either to charity or find someone who needs it more than she does. Orlovsky quickly pulled it. Laura Rutledge did also. I was kind of surprised by Laura Rutledge getting behind that too. There's an integrity issue. There's that word again, integrity.
Jeez. We can't escape it. My goodness gracious.
This is a integrity issue. Why would you jump on something knowing that there's a lawsuit involved for game of skill?
Not just lawsuit, Nick. It's a federal lawsuit too, as if the FBI hasn't been pulling out all the weeds here when it's come to gambling in general.
But we've seen this before with online poker.
Yes.
If you remember with Poker Stars and Full Tilt.
Yep, I remember those.
The illegal rakes that they were taking. And also, where were they based? Outside the country. Because the gambling laws are not the same.
Right.
As they are here. And if you remember, everyone's money got frozen on those apps because who got involved? Oops, the feds got involved. And on top of that, most of the Poker Stars and Full Tilt were run by professional poker players that were on the poker tour.
Yeah, they were on the WTP or WPT, yeah.
Like the big names too. Huge names. So this is a bad situation. It's funny that Stephen A didn't pull his stuff down, but he went on and did a video and said, I'm looking into it now. I didn't know about the app. Come on, man. Do you really think like we're that stupid?
Yes.
Like, you really want me to believe that you didn't know the deal? Have you ever heard of reading a contract in the fine print before you sign a deal? Or did you just look at the money?
Money.
You know what, Stephen A? This is what I have to tell you, what I have to say to you.
Stay off the weed.
Because that's what you're making me. Like, what do you think? We're all smoking weed and getting high here? Like, we're not paying attention to what... Oh, my team's going to look into it now because I signed a contract and it's kind of hard to get out of it.
Yeah, I got accused of smoking weed because of my takes, and yet I'm like right every single time. You know who you are.
By the way, Stephen A., if something is illegal, you can get out of a legal binding contract if it's deemed illegal activity. I don't need to be a lawyer to understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Nick, sticking with Stephen A. Smith, though. I mean, this is only getting a bit worse here, though. But the long-standing and usually salty media feud involving former ESPN host Michelle Beadle and SAS has now intensified recently amidst the Solitaire cash scandal, but also with Beadle previously previously losing her radio time slot to Smith, publicly ripping into the First Take host on her own platform, stating that she prays for the downfall of him and calling his behavior gross and also hypocritical, arguing that ESPN created a monster by handing him a blank check, suggesting his willingness to chill for a potentially fraudulent app demonstrates a lack of principles, which also, Nick, involved somehow Kerry Champion got it roped into this thing here. But also, Nick, we had a rebuttal and pushback from Stephen A. What do we got here?
So just for fair warning, this is a longer video, so we're going to have to stop in the middle and kind of discuss it. But Listen to what Stephen A has to say, because this is Warpath Stephen A.
Nevertheless, it didn't stop people from coming at me. And one of those people was a lady by the name of Michelle Beadle. She took to going on the attack late, the latest attack against me. She's been coming at me for over a decade. And if you've noticed, I've never once responded. Not one time. In over 11 years, I have not responded. Even in my book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, a New York Times bestseller, by the way. I'll make sure to get it for you to put it up here in case you didn't see it. You should buy it. Even in the book, I didn't mention her name. But for some reason, which is why my man Juvie calls it Santa Claus, they keep mentioning my name. Let me let you hear what this woman had to say about me in her latest rant. Take a listen.
The guy is making money off of here. ESPN pays him a gazillion dollars
to not work there full time,
to get a lot of stuff wrong and yell, right? And he gets caught playing solitaire during the NBA freaking finals.
The thing that he claims to be a fucking
the thing that he's
genius in.
And so instead of he doubles down and he does this. If I'm ESPN, and I get it. You created this monster. He is bigger than you now. And that's exactly your fault and your fault only. You let him run rampant all over that company and put his face on for everybody who's like, oh, he works so hard. I'm going to let you in on a little behind the scenes. He wants to do that. Nobody's asking him.
Okay, hold on. All right, so we have attack mode now going on between
both sides.
This
is a full-out war now. I'm sorry. This is a full-fledged media war, and it's only going to get worse.
Now, I do agree with some of her points that he gets paid a lot of money to sometimes not be there full time doing a lot of stuff. Now, but that's for anybody who works in the sports media. You're not going to work 40-hour work weeks. You're just not. It's just not how this business operates. But I do have some problems with some of the stuff that Michelle Beadle says too.
Me too, absolutely.
And I don't know if we heard the quote yet on the praying for the downfall yet.
Yeah.
But she's a little overboard in this scenario. But she's not wrong from the standpoint of that Stephen A is a little too all over the place and way too much on the ESPN platforms. So let's listen a little bit more to what she has to say.
He shows up. I told everyone I work with, I will never share a set with that person, ever, because I don't respect him, and life's too short. So that being said, I'm like, he made you look like fools for handing him a blank check in the first place because he doesn't even give a shit about the stuff that he's paid a gazillion dollars to talk about. And now he's turning around and turning that into a money-making opportunity. Yeah. And the money-making opportunity, turns out it looks like it's a fraudulent crap business to begin with. Honestly, I'm not a religious person, but I pray for the downfall.
Okay, time out.
All right, that whole quote is out of bounds. Everything else was perfectly fine until you said that.
Michelle, come on. And I met Michelle before when I interned at
Same here.
Curious. I've never seen her be this volatile before. But come on. You were totally fine until that last quote. Praying for someone's downfall? Trust me, you and I have many problems with Stephen A. Smith with the amount of things that he does.
Oh, without a doubt, 1,000%.
But don't pray for someone's downfall. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, everything she said, though, leading up before that quote was perfect. Like, ESPN gave this guy a blank check to not work 40 hours a week and be there. They've done this, they've done that. Michelle and Decker pointing out, though, too, hey, he claims to love basketball in the NBA Finals. Yet, because it's small market teams, I will go to my grave saying it because it's the Thunder and Pacers. Oh, I'm going to just play solitaire, not watch the game, and act like I know what actually happened while I'm playing this, fraudulent solitaire game. But again, everything though that Michelle said was fine. I don't mind it too. I'll never share a set with this guy ever again because of how he is and how he acts. Like that part I get. But until you said that quote, I'm sorry, you lost me right there.
You can't pray for people's downfalls. That's just such a terrible thing to say. And I don't know. I thought Michelle was a good person, but you lost me. Let's continue.
Really
It's
do.
going to be amazing.
I just.
It's going to be amazing.
Couple of things. To the guy that was sitting next to her, I don't know you from a can of paint.
Wow.
I think his name is Cody Decker. I heard you used to play in minor leagues, like 8 years, and
he was a major league player.
Baseball, whatever. No shade on you, bro. I don't know you. And I want you to know that anything that I say about your show with her in a second has absolutely nothing to do with you. I know you got to sit next to her and come across as rah-rah and all of that, bro.
Oh, stop. Really? That's the excuse, Stephen A., you're going to make? Number one, not knowing Cody Decker played in the majors, saying he played in the minors for 8 years. That proves part of her point, that he doesn't pay attention to shit.
Yeah, which went to the point I said, how can the NBA genius, just because it's only Thunder, Pacers in the NBA Finals and not his Knicks or the Lakers playing in it. Again, he's caught playing solitaire during the finals when he should be paying attention and writing down notes about the game for when he gets on the air.
So, both sides have wrongs in this scenario.
Oh, this has nothing to do with you. I wish you nothing but the best. I hope your success continues to grow and you make the most of the career that you're trying to have. I know you did short films, produced short films. Man, all the best to you, bro. I don't know you. Don't know you. My comments are strictly directed at this woman, who I will remind y'all I have not said a word about.
Can we stop for a sec? Can we stop for a sec? What's the whole charade here, Stephen A.? Can you put somebody's name on it? Can we not call people they, them, this person, this man, this woman? That to me just seems like it is a low blow across the board when you can't even have the courage, the cojones, the set of nuts that you don't buy at the grocery store to actually put somebody's name on it. I mean, if I'm going to, Nick, if we ever call people out, we put people's names on it. We don't shy away of calling them they, them pronouns, for example, or stuff like this. Again, I think this is beyond, a low blow that Stephen A. doesn't even have, you don't have the common decency to put Michelle Beadle's name on other than earlier in the segment. That's the part that infuriates me more, is that people want to hide and say, well, it's this person who said it or that person. No, they have a name, believe it or not. Use it.
I mean, the other issue, too, you have is that Michelle Beadle's actually worked at ESPN for quite a few years or more. Like, she did Sports Nation. She was part of ESPN NBA coverage. She was part of Get Up, even though she did not work on Get Up whatsoever. That was a complete failure, if you ask me. But, yeah, stop with the they, them pronouns, Stephen A. Like, it's a weak ass excuse for not wanting to go after someone, which is his whole brand, to go after people.
His whole shtick is going after people, but yet he has to resort to this woman, this woman, this woman. Her name's Michelle Beadle. You can say it without having to go and puke your brains out here, buddy.
And at the same time, Michelle Beadle has worked at ESPN for not more than a cup of coffee. Like,
she was there at least, 10 years?
I don't know if it was that long, but I think she had 2 stints at ESPN, I think. But I don't know.
Over 11 years. I've never spoken about her. Do y'all know why? I don't know her. You would think there's some beef that's been going on and has been pervasive throughout the industry for years. It's all because of her. I have never
Time out.
said more.
Does this man even know who the hell he's worked with at ESPN, or does he already have like onset dementia or amnesia? I don't think, Nick, I've ever seen somebody in any industry not remember or know the names of people that they either have worked with or should know of who they work with at some point in time. This is absolutely bonkers that Stephen A. Smith can be so damn ignorant about the other people around him, where, again, the world doesn't revolve around you, Stephen A. Smith. Figure it out.
And also, Michelle Beadle worked on the NBA coverage for ESPN. I think we're missing that one too, which people are not realizing, but we digress.
Than hello or goodbye to her in the initial stages, and we was at one event for ESPN in 2013.
Okay, so you acknowledge that you've had one small conversation with her at ESPN.
Stop backtracking.
So he's acknowledging that they did both work at ESPN. Okay.
Wherever it was, where we might have spoken for a minute or two. I don't know this woman.
All right.
Here we go again.
Stop with this woman. She has a name. You're obviously doing this because you're going after her for what she said, right? So put the name to the face. And you mentioned her name at the top.
At all. So when you hear her talking about me, please understand, I don't know her. I have no relationship with her. She says I don't like her. How would you know? It has to be because of how you're acting, Michelle Beadle. It can't be because of me. Because I don't talk to you. I don't know you. I don't talk to you. I've never been around you. We've never had a conversation. We've never hung out with one another. Nothing. We have no relationship. I can sit up here right now, walk outside to the bathroom, pass somebody in a hallway, talk to them for 2 minutes, and that would be more extensive than any communication I have had with Michelle Beadle in all these years.
So that's that battle. I don't even know how to react to that fully.
Does the highly personable or personal public nature of a feud between Beadle and Smith reveal a deeper systematic power struggle within ESPN or between legacy talent and obviously ESPN's highest paid and easily, Nick, the most influential modern day personality of Stephen A. Smith?
This is a disaster. Like, this is disaster written all over it. Stephen A. has too much power. I will admit Michelle is right on that front, that Stephen A. has way too much power. ESPN basically handed the keys over to the company to Stephen A. Smith. That is a problem. Okay? So he can basically say whatever the hell he wants, and they're not going to give him any consequences. If anybody else said things that he said, they'd be fired instantly on the spot.
I mean, we said, but then we thought the same thing about Ryan Clark, though, and that hasn't obviously gone anywhere ever since he about wanted to body slam Peter Schrager his first day on the job at ESPN.
It's amazing. Well, former NFL players and Stephen A. Smith. So Kendrick Perkins. First of all, Kendrick Perkins has been one of the worst NBA analysts of all time, in my opinion. And he says really dopey, disgusting things sometimes on ESPN when to the female sports center anchors. But I don't know what to think about this because it's amazing. Like I said, all he does is look to pick fights. And he also goes after Kerry Champion, who once was a host of First Take.
And I believe, Nick, that Kerry Champion even made a video response to Stephen A. Smith. I believe we have that audio and that video footage as well.
We do. So
let's listen.
So this is a longer one. We'll do our best to kind of get through this quick because we have a whole lot of other show to do. But here we go.
Let me get to somebody I do know. At least I thought I knew. And that's Miss Kerry Champion. Kerry Champion is a person that used to host First Take. Used to work at ESPN. Used to do Sports Nation, stuff like that. Did a pretty damn good job too. And I have to tell you, I was taken aback, and I think the word shocked does apply when it came to this Michelle Beadle brouhaha and seeing Kerry Champion say this about me. Please play cut number 7.
Stephen A. I played that Michelle Beadle clip for one reason and one reason only. I'm old enough to remember being on that show and getting in trouble based on some comments you said about women and whether or not they should know their place when it comes to abuse or non-abuse. Ray Rice comes to mind. Not going to get into the details of all of that. But Beadle just came for you yet again, like she did when I worked at ESPN. I wonder, do you have that same smoke for her that you have for Jasmine Crockett, that you have for Michelle Obama, that you sometimes display for me and Jamel Hill? Do you have that same smoke? I'm sick of it. Keep the same energy. And I call you and I root for you and I say, hey, I got your back. I'm happy for you. But you keep that same energy, sir, for everybody.
You should.
So that's a shot. That is a shot.
It is a shock, and I think, Nick, I found it very perplexing again to go back to the first part of our segment here involving Beadle and Stephen A's new civil war in media. So we go from Stephen A referring to Michelle Beadle as that woman, this woman. Yet, though, Nick, what does he do, though, about Kerry Champion?
Well, I have that, but one second.
He actually names her name first and last at the start of this rant.
Now, like I said, she was the moderator, one of the first moderators when it became First Take, and was there for quite a while. So I guess there's more personal connection between the two of them. Even though I think that's kind of ridiculous when you're talking about a story, you talk about the person that you're naming and stop with the this woman, this man, that man nonsense. But I kind of get where she's coming from, because she's saying, well, why don't you bring the same smoke that you bring to these stories that you do when you do your political shit?
Yeah.
Like when you go after those people. So here's the reaction.
Be ashamed of yourself.
How?
You just said, Kerry, you called me, you root for me. Why would you root for somebody that called you out in Jamel Hill, who's your good friend? Because it's never happened. Never. I've shown you nothing but love. What are you talking about? You were hired at First Take in large part because
there it is. There it is.
I was going to say, it's all about me. Man, shut the hell up.
It's always, I got you hired. Don't backsass me. Don't. You have to. Stephen A., maybe you're just a bad person. Could that be a factor?
Yeah.
You might get people hired. Again, this goes back to the Michelle Beadle quote, where she's like, oh, well, he has more power than anybody knows what to do with. He's an executive producer on his own show, First Take. He has the pull of the bosses, so he probably could get people hired. Heck, he could have gotten Molly Kiram a bigger salary, but I digress.
No kidding.
I'm going to go back to that for a second. If you really loved her as much as you say you do, why didn't you go to the bosses and say, give her the salary?
Yeah, I mean, if you claim to love someone like you're saying here, then why not become an advocate for them, especially because we know the discrepancies between female and male talent at any network.
There is more bias than we know how to deal with. And discrimination, too. So, I don't know. But I knew that was going to come out at some point. Oh, well, I got her hired. I brought her in. She's there because of me.
You stayed as long as you stayed and had the support of the people that supported you because of me. Do I need to get bosses to confirm that I'm telling the
All right, stop. No one cares. The average person that's not us, that has worked in the media, does not care what bosses you have the pull of, who you got hired, who you got fired. Like when you got Max Kellerman thrown off a First Take because he's a smarter person than you are, because he went to an Ivy League school and he's just a much more intelligent, savvy guy than Stephen A. Smith. You just don't like people that go against you, Stephen A.
I can think of a few examples within this platform of ours at one point in time, too.
So, is this really about people wronging you, or is this about people that you just don't like the fact that they're calling you out?
Both.
Truth, I can. When we see the diverse people that come on First Take, black people, women, the list goes on and on. Who did that? That wasn't happening when Skip was there.
Oh, stop. So now
now we need to go and rope Skip Bayless into this damn thing.
Well, no, wait. We didn't even get there yet. He's saying that the diversity of the show is because of him.
No.
Oh, we got women on the show. We got black people on the show. First of all, you and I are more for diversity than most people are. Heck, we're trying to bring more women content creators into this network, which
Correct.
not because we haven't been, we don't want to. It's just been hard to find them. But I would say we're pretty diverse here at this network of all different shapes and sizes of people.
Definitely.
But for him to say, oh, well, the show is more diverse because of me, and then he's going to go on, because I watched this clip slightly, that Skip Bayless might have not approved, but I'm the hero. I got everybody.
That was me. What are you talking about? When have I spoken against you? When have I thrown shade against you? When did that happen?
Very angry.
That is a lie. Me? Dog and Kerry champion? When? And if I did it, why did you call me and root for me? What are you sick of? Or did you just want the attention?
Oh, come on. Come on. Really? So when someone comes after you, it's because they want the attention. He says that every single time.
Is it seeking attention, or is it just calling a spade, or calling out the hard truth that you don't want to hear?
No, but he thinks because he has his big platform that when someone calls him out, it's because they want the attention of his platform. That sounds a little egotistical. Maybe? The me attitude, the egotistical attitude?
Unacceptable.
You see, we're going to have a deeper discussion.
Oh, God.
Right here and now, because I'm sick of this. And I'm not going to be scared by women that I have loved on for many, many years as a colleague and as a contemporary and watching folks back. It doesn't mean everything that I'm going to do is going to please you. But y'all are talking without facts. We want to talk about, like Michelle Beadle talked about and other people talk. Ask John Skipper. Ask Connor Shell.
All right, stop with the executives. We know you have power. Stop with the executives. Please.
No.
Ask Norby Williamson. I'm usually not supposed to give out names, but what I'm saying to y'all is, whether it's Dave Roberts, it's a Burke Magnus, it's a Jimmy Pitaro, or anybody else, ask them my support. For numerous people that have walked through the walls of ESPN, including you and Jamel Hill. What are you talking about?
Really? He's basically...
So is it the Entertainment Stephen A. Smith Programming Network, or is it supposed to be Entertainment Sports Programming Network? I'm lost here.
Because he's basically saying, I go to all the bosses and I bring everybody in here, essentially, right? Is that what he's saying?
Pretty much.
I didn't want Jamel Hill to leave.
Sure he did.
I've been on the air religiously stating she's a miss for us. Highly intelligent, very accomplished, good peoples. What are you talking about? When? Can somebody here please find something that on the record when I'm on the air, something talking about Jemele Hill and Kerry Champion? You were at the Tennis Channel, and I brought you over to ESPN.
There it is. There it is. Right there. There it is. We both called that one, didn't we?
Saw it from a mile away.
Who cares if she was at the Tennis Channel?
So again, we're going to bring up people's past experiences or personal lives about why they got to where they're at, because you have nothing better to say about why they actually joined ESPN.
No, because it's my job. I'm Stephen A. I brought people into the network. She was at Tennis Channel, and I brought her to ESPN.
I mean, my God, it feels like I'm watching him on General Hospital every Friday, for God's sakes, on ABC.
That's the only reason why he can do General Hospital. Well, let me take that back. Stephen A. has Stephen A. rules. He can do whatever he wants, apparently.
ESPN, not just me. Had to get approval. Had to get Skip Bayless support because he was the number one guy. Who you think did it?
I did it.
Who you think did it?
I did it.
I can get into a whole bunch of details that surrounded you.
Oh, come on, man. That's low.
Yeah, now he's just going full overboard here. Like, this is bonkers.
He says this every single time when he gets into a fight. Oh, I could give you the dirty details, but I'm not going to because I'm the bigger man.
Continue.
Necessarily ending up there. If Skip had his way or somebody else had their way, it was me that stopped that.
I feel like I'm getting dumber by the second and I'm losing brain cells by the minute.
I hate to say this sentence for the first time in a while, but don't rope Skip Bayless into this. This is your fight.
Yeah, what did Skip do? I mean, give me a break. What did Max do?
Like,
they both left because they got tired of your bullshit, Stephen A. How about that?
Well, Skip left for FS1 for more money, but
I also think, though, Nick, they got tired of the runaround with Stephen A. being a damn jackass.
Well, Skip is begged to do a show with Stephen A. again, so I don't know if that's 100% true. But
at least initially, I think it was getting way too inflammatory for even Bayless to put up with this crap every day.
Max was a Stephen A. executive producer / I know that's what I've heard, because Max was too smart for Stephen A.
This marvelous, talented black woman who magnetized towards the camera, had a flavor and a style and a flair about her that I thought would serve the show well. Ask Jamie Horowitz.
Oh, there it is.
Why would we do that? No
what
one
are you talking
cares.
about? That's a lie. I have never failed to support you or Jemele Hill. How dare you say that about me? How dare you say that about me? That has never happened. And if I disagreed with stuff, I'd keep it silent. Just like the brothers and sisters were silent about Jussie Smollett.
Oh, my God.
Like Dave Chappelle said, we supported him with our silence because we knew his ass was lying.
Stop. Time out. I'm done. That's enough. I mean, now we're going to go rope this into the actor in Chicago who I think faked something and got arrested for it now. So we have to cross that damn line in the sand now, Stephen A. Because you have nothing better to actually conjure up that you have to resort to your whole political BS shill. Give me a break. Enough.
Oh.
Right. I mean, right there, he lost me. Because now you have to go into all these other, things that don't involve the sports world, though. I know this is on a different platform that he's on, though. No, he lost me.
I mean, I'll listen for like another 30 seconds, but then I'll probably end this.
Dave Chappelle, not me. I'm just saying. The point is, I did not do this. What are you sick of?
Again, with that phrase.
Are you sick of the attention you're not getting?
Oh, God. Hold up. Time out. Are you sick of the attention you're not getting?
No, I think they're just fine on having to be working with this guy on ESPN anymore. I think they're going to be totally fine as the years go on.
Kerry Champion will be fine. Now, I don't know if I could say the same thing for Michelle Beadle because she's constantly getting into arguments with people constantly. But I'm sure she's made enough money between all the stops she's made. I don't think she has anything to worry about.
On top of keeping Beadle and Decker alive after they lost their spot to this clown here on screen.
Which, by the way, he refuses to totally acknowledge where some of the anger is coming from Michelle Beadle at all.
Because in his mind, hey, I'm perfect. I haven't done anything wrong. What are you talking about?
Not on ESPN anymore.
Oh,
I didn't ask you to leave.
Oh,
it was your choice.
Oh,
it's hard, ladies and gentlemen, to sit here and to listen to stuff like
No,
this.
poor me.
Poor
Stop.
me.
Time out. Okay. Now it's the guilt trip. It's poor me. You know, I do all this work for everybody, and all I do is I get backstabbed after they leave. Again, man, who the hell you fooling?
He's not fooling anyone. Like, this is why you and I clown on him all the time, because
you expect sympathy, Stephen A., when you make as much as Manny Machado in one baseball season with their contractual obligations to ESPN. I have no sympathy for you. Shut up.
I mean, so what? You do First Take. You're on the ESPN NBA coverage. You somehow jettisoned your way into Monday Night Countdown for the NFL. You're on Sirius XM. You do a show on Mad Dog, which from 1 to 3, Monday through Friday. And then I think it's on Wednesdays, he does a political talk show on the POTUS channel from 6 to 8. Like, dude, you work, you're the hardest working damn guy in America. But you can't keep your mouth shut at all.
Yeah.
From people who are supposed to be your friends. When you had a meeting wanting to come back to ESPN, who set up the meeting?
Time out. There we go again. Who set up the meeting for you so you could come back? Me. This is like incrimination of himself. A little.
I couldn't agree more.
Who would you call? What are you talking about? Why would you do that? Why do I have to sit up here and come on camera because a person that I thought was my friend would be on camera talking about me like that and didn't even have the decency to give me a call?
Time out. So, Carrie Champion is supposed to call you before she's going to put out a giant rant saying how much of a bad guy you are. Did I hear that?
Why would she do that?
Did I hear that correctly?
I think so.
Why would you do that?
Heads up. That's low, Kerry. I would never do that.
Time out. Stephen A. accuses Kerry Champion of going low. All he's done, Nick, in this nearly half an hour we've been on this segment, he's gone low after Michelle Beadle and now low against Kerry Champion while roping in Jamel Hill and roping in Skip Bayless for no good reason whatsoever.
Now, let me be clear about one thing. Michelle Beadle's not 100% right in this scenario either. But Stephen A. Well, actually, let me take that back. Michelle Beadle and Kerry Champion have a lot more to lose than Stephen A. does.
They do. That part we're not dismissing again. Nick and I are not dismissing what Michelle Beadle said, though, that you don't pray for someone's career to tank like what Beadle said about Stephen A. Smith. That way, in no way should anyone out there ever say that kind of thing.
I'll give you an example right now as we come up on hour 3 in a few minutes. We had 3 people here that did a huge disservice to this network that we're on. Okay? Calvin, have you ever heard me once say that I wish them the downfall of any of those 3 people?
Hell no.
Or that I wish bad things to happen to those people?
No.
I might be frustrated with what went down with those 3 people.
Being frustrated, though, and publicly saying somewhere that all 3 of them are going to have a down, that we pray for a downfall, not even close.
I would never say it. It would never even be a thought in my mind. Because we all know what happens to things when they're said on the internet or social media.
They go all over the place.
So that's why you don't say that stuff, Stephen A., because it will come back to bite you someday.
And you know it. Never, not in a million years. I've had your back and supported you for years. How could you do that? How could you do that? That's all I'm going to say, Kerry. Because I still love you.
Time out. Time out. Time out. I still love you.
Though I just took your name and put it through the shredder for the last 8 minutes.
Holy shit.
Holy moly.
That was low. I'm going to let it go this time. That was low. There's no way an even so-called friend is supposed to be blindsided with that kind of video. And you brought up Ray Rice. What kind of thing you think that's going to have on me? You know that's just fodder for people out there to come at me with that nonsense, which you know I was innocent of. Just made a mistake using the wrong word. I've never hit a woman. I've never touched a woman in my life. That's all right. I'm a big boy. I can take it. That stung. But I can take it.
Wow.
It's a bit of a shame, Nick, that's the one of not really a lead story, but now it's kind of gained new traction, is just the media internal warfare now going on between those three. And then again, we get roped in with Steven, or that, SAS ropes in Jamel Hill and then ropes in Skip Bayless. I'm shocked he didn't rope in Max Kellerman along the way as well. But I mean, this has now put us way over the cliff here, though, for time, though. So we have to probably move as quickly as we can through some of these other topics here real quick, Nick.
Unless you want to just move ahead to hour 3 at this
We're
point.
going to just move ahead, folks, to hour 3 here. We'll come back to those other stories probably next week, though, as time goes on.
Yeah.
Let's just Nick in mind. But Nick, though, I do want to get to one. Actually, yeah, I want to get to one though, real quick from this past hour, because I know that this is still up. This is still up your alley, real quick. Again, folks, as a reminder, here you're joining us here as part of Playback's Big Day. Once more, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. Tony Reale, ESPN legendary host, hosting the new version of Around the Horn here on Playback called Around the Room. He'll be coming into some communities, hopefully ours. I'm sure Nick will get priority access because we're a partner account with Playback. But again, we have two NBA games plus whip around coverage. We got 10 people joining our stream as time goes on. All right, Nick. One story though from hour 2 I wanted to get to, because this is still obviously affecting you though. This is obviously, Nick, marred though by Disney company CEO Bob Iger joining the Manning cast on Monday Night Football. But amid though the ongoing and prolonged carriage dispute between both the ESPN and YouTube TV, plus the other Disney-owned channels that has been blacked out for nearly 3 weeks now, and has also left 8 million plus subscribers of YouTube TV, including Nick, in the dark. Fans and media, though, were left furious when Iger spoke only on irrelevant topics, and neither Peyton nor Eli would ask a question about the ongoing blackout, which is currently the longest right now in Disney's program history. The incident was viewed as an example of ESPN prioritizing corporate image and likeness over subscriber concerns. So, Nick, your thoughts, though, about this perhaps being a cynical corporate strategy that prioritizes media optics over transparency with the millions of customers impacted, and how did this play out, though, in your mind on Monday?
This was ridiculous that they had him on. Obviously, they had him on with Peyton and Eli. But how do you not ask him about what's going on with the dispute between YouTube TV and Disney? Unless this is what I told Cowan last night, which is corporate shill between Peyton and Eli, who are NFL players, so they know not to burn the beast, and they're not going to say bad things to the CEO of the company. But it just looks like a really bad look, if you ask me. And I don't know how to feel about it, because, again, I'm a YouTube TV subscriber sitting in the dark from ESPN and ABC. And that's a problem. I finally had to go get ESPN Unlimited because we have the Disney bundle. So I was able to get it for $18 a month instead of paying the ruckus $30 a month to get it. But how do you not ask him the question? How?
Why am I, Nick, of the belief, though, that before Eli and Peyton took the ear on Monday, producers were in their ear when Mr. Iger joins, you cannot ask him about YouTube TV. None whatsoever.
So this goes back to corporate shill.
I was going to say, so is this corporate shill, or is this basically producers saying, because of company ordeal, company policy, you can't ask him about what's going on with the YouTube TV blackout, worry about the football and about the Disney theme parks?
Right. But we've heard Peyton and Eli go overboard before on topics. This shouldn't be any irony here that the Disney CEO is sitting on the couch next to Peyton and Eli. And all of a sudden now they're not going to talk about the YouTube TV dispute with Disney. Pat McAfee's doing it. Pat McAfee's been loud and proud about it.
Yeah. And there's been no blowback that I know about McAfee sounding off about it. Because I think, Nick, if memory serves me correct, McAfee's Twitter account has been streaming college football game day on Saturdays, I think. And they've been getting millions of impressions and views or whatnot.
They had to, because people were losing out. And as long as you have a social media account on X or Twitter, whatever you call it these days, and
the bird platform.
Yeah. And basically, that was one of the only ways that they could really get access to college game day, because you can't watch it on YouTube TV. And that's a problem. I couldn't watch college game day. I couldn't watch college football. I couldn't watch Monday Night Football, even though the one before this was Cowboys Cardinals, which is a shitty game.
Couldn't watch the NBA, for example, on a Wednesday or a Friday.
I actually really wanted to watch Eagles Packers, which ended up being a close to low scoring game. Couldn't watch that either. And then my favorite part was they said, "Oh, well, we'll make it available on ABC." And you saw the tweet response I did to that person. That doesn't fix the problem. YouTube TV.
That, and if memory serves me correct, that ABC asked for an injunction for the election night coverage on the 4th too, and that didn't go through.
And guess what? What do you think YouTube TV said?
Oh, okay.
Kick rocks.
Yeah.
So there's reports, and I think I shared it with you in our press row section, that apparently there was an awful announcing story that was done this morning. YouTube TV says Disney dispute is over ABC, not ESPN.
Makes no damn difference.
The same company.
Yes.
If you can't agree to one, you're not going to get any of them. Earlier this week, a report emerged that YouTube TV was demanding lower prices than every other major distributor for access to Disney's suite of television networks. Now the Google-owned platform is clarifying exactly what that means. On Monday, Puck sports correspondent John Oran reported that YouTube TV is attempting to negotiate rates for Disney's content that are lower than the 3 largest paid TV distributors in the country: Comcast, Charter, and DirecTV. Disney sees this as untenable, which I don't know if that's true, as agreeing to give YouTube TV a lower rate would trigger, and we talked about this last week, most favored nation clause.
Yeah.
In its other contracts that would force the company to give the same lower rate to other distributors. In total, Comcast, Charter, DirecTV, and YouTube TV account for 68% of pay TV households in the U.S., meaning Disney would be taking a haircut on the lion's share of its distribution revenue should they agree to lower rates. YouTube TV, however, is pushing back on parts of Oran's reporting. A spokesperson for the company tells Awful Announcing that YouTube TV is not asking for lower rates immediately, but wants to codify lower rates once it surpasses the 3 other distributors and subscribers. In the interim, the Google-owned service suggests it paid the same rates as other distributors. God. Help! I don't know. What the hell?
Can they just get this damn thing over with already and just stop playing chicken here?
I'm going to need the Beatles song soon, because I don't know what's going on here. Help!
I don't get it either. All right, Nick, hour 3 officially here, finally. Nick, this story, though, has grown some legs here, and it's only getting a bit worse. Former LSU football head coach Brian Kelly has now reportedly told the school to pay up the full $53 million buyout stipulated in his contract following his recent firing just a couple of weeks ago. The figure would be the second largest contract buyout in college football history, trailing just Jimbo Fisher's $77 million buyout from Texas A&M. Kelly reportedly rejected two settlement offers of $25 million and $30 million, underscoring his intent to receive the full contractual amount despite being let go midway through a down season. Nick, this story has had twists and turns, peaks and valleys. What does this say, though, about Kelly's hardline demand for his full buyout, despite LSU settlement offers? Say about the legal and financial leverage that coaches now hold over even the most powerful programs in college football and, for that matter, college athletics?
I mean, he did sign a contract. You both agreed to a contract, right? I know that I'm making this sound very simplistic, but if you agreed to a deal, then you got to pay the contract out.
You would think.
And my favorite part is, so he walks away. And now all of a sudden they're saying, well, we didn't fire him, but now we're going to fire him for cause. I'm sorry. You can't fire someone for cause once they're gone, right?
You would think.
Like, am I missing something there? Because if he's owed the buyout, pay the man. If he's owed the buyout. And now there's offers like, oh, well, we'll give you 25 or 30 million. Brian was like, no, I signed a deal. Give me my money.
This story is only getting worse. And, Nick, I think we have a story in here, but we'll touch base, though, on it because I'm sure we'll be out of time by the time that we get there. Buyouts for college football head coaches are going to exceed $1 billion for the first time in about 11 years, I think, if memory serves me correct.
Yes, that's true. You're
Think
right.
about how insane that is now in 2025.
I'm not really surprised by it because now with all the NIL money and all this extra money that's coming in from private equity, look what's happening with the Big Ten with that California pension fund. People are paying people to go away.
And this went to my point, though, too, now, Nick, that donors and alumni feel more empowered to get rid of a coach in the event that they're not doing well, especially in markets, like I say, though, in the SEC. If you don't win it all right away or win it all every year, we don't need you. Go away.
And he had like 5 years left on his deal.
It was a 10-year contract.
So I just pay him. You're going to end up in a much more bigger lawsuit and a reputational hit if you just pay him to go away at this point. But to say, oh, well, we didn't fire him, but now we're going to fire him for cause. I've never heard that. Have you ever heard that ever?
Never.
So has he been a good coach? No, but that's not the point. If you sign a deal, you got to honor the contract.
Right. Excuse me.
All right, where are we going from here?
We're going to move, Nick, to some WNBA drama, but though, Nick, not what we're thinking. We have officially, Nick, been told and confirmed that Nneka Ogwumike and now Alyssa Thomas have become the first major players to publicly commit to the unnamed Project B League, a new women's basketball league launching next year. In November of 2026, globally, the league promises players higher salaries in the WNBA and equity stake in the business. The move by two of the league's top talents suggests that players are actively seeking alternatives to a traditional WNBA overseas model to maximize their earning potential and ownership, adding a new layer of competition to the women's basketball ecosystem. So, Nick, with the commitments of both Nneka and Thomas to the new Project B League, does it signify a definitive shift in power where top women's basketball talent will now prioritize ownership and non-WNBA earning potential to drive up their overall compensation? Where, Nick, I think it's time to say, WNBA, nice knowing ya. See you later. Goodbye.
I hate to be blunt when I say this, but the WNBA is fucked. Like,
they are.
Because if that's the case, then, like, if these big names in the sport, by the way, we're not talking about like WNBA players at the average Joe at the end of the roster. We're talking about Nneka Ogwumike and Alyssa Thomas, who Alyssa Thomas was just in the WNBA finals, right?
Nneka's won a couple of rings in LA.
So those are big names. And didn't we hear another name a week or two ago that signed with Project B also?
Not that I know of. Just these two sound to be the only ones right now.
I could have sworn when I want to see if I can even find a list in the meantime, but that's two huge names.
I mean, it's massive, Nick. And I saw a tweet, and it wasn't from a verified source, but I thought that was a very interesting perspective. The W right now is still, for right now, the queen of women's basketball for right now. But you go and look, though, Nick, at Unrivaled. It's more about the rising stars of the league that signed NIL deals with some of the big studs in women's college basketball. Project B now becomes the new alternative, so players won't have to go to war-torn countries to play the game in the offseason, like in November of next year. Then you've got Athletes Unlimited, which is kind of where players are trying to get back in the league in some way, staying active in the sport one way or another, which, has their contract deal with FanDuel Sports and other, and other networks out there. Like, this, I think, helps the sport in general, Nick. But now it's almost like, though, if you're the WNBA, I don't want to hear no damn PR statement that there's no competition now. There is competition from 3 entities now across women's basketball. Don't give me that shit whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at some of the scheduling. The league is set to operate during the WNBA offseason, will not conflict with the WNBA season. Well, I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. Player compensation. The league is expected to offer lucrative contracts with reported annual salaries around $2 million.
That's a huge bump right there.
Now, I don't know what... I have to look this up and see if I could find Alyssa Thomas's... let's see. Salary? $215,000. Okay. I'm going to ask the question. You already know what I'm probably going to ask. Or thought here. $215,000, $2 million. $2
million.
So, just saying, that's a problem. And by the way, we have to remind people again, most of the league in the WNBA is free agents coming up this offseason.
Was it like 85%, 90%?
Most of the league. So, the WNBA is screwed. Like,
and I don't want to hear that commissioner open her mouth and say that the league is in a good spot right now and that there's no competition. Again, Nick, we sat here on draft night, my first show being here in April, how that commissioner said, we don't view Unrivaled isn't a competitor for us. Nick, you've got 3 different entities now that are going to be fighting for women's basketball supremacy when it comes to being the league of women's hoops. Unrivaled, Project B, Athletes Unlimited.
And Unrivaled, I think Unrivaled is going to be really good now that they're kind of getting into their, what is it, the second season now? So
yeah, second full year.
I wish they would move it around and not play in the one place. What is it, Miami?
I'm of the belief that they would have to do that to keep the fan bases of the W engaged.
So they got to fix that. However, they're going to do that. But I think if they figure out the travel situation, they will take over the W at some point. Whatever this Project B League is going to be called. If the salaries are going to be $2 million, they're going to have to travel.
I think it's going to be probably overseas along with this, upstart NBA Europa League coming in 2027.
I'm sure you're going to see some balance in between those two, probably, where they're going to work together in some aspects. Now, the NBA players can't play
right
in the NBA Europe, whatever this new league is, because I think it has to do with contractually. But for some reason, the W players can play in this one. I don't know how that makes any sense.
Off season, and players have long gone overseas to play, so they already have that relationship, I think, with certain markets and countries and clubs.
And also, I guess the NBA players really don't have to because of the money that they make. They don't really have to. But I don't know, man. I mean, the WNBA is in trouble. And I think we're going to see a lockout in a little over 2 weeks.
Yep. November 30th. November 30th is now the new lockout date for the CBA
Little
to
over 2
expire.
weeks. Little over 2 weeks.
And for those wondering, by the way, and I'm a little surprised, Nick. Not a lot of movement on that home front. It's been very quiet since that extension got signed.
But that could be a good thing, because
No
maybe
news is good news.
because maybe they finally said, "Look, we need to stop publicly attacking one another in the media."
Put the steel chairs away and actually be like grown-ups and go to the table and actually negotiate.
Correct. So maybe that's what they're trying to do. I don't know. You and I don't know at all, but or they could just not be talking and being silent, and maybe nothing's happening. We don't know.
Could be a wide array of things going on. As a reminder, again, though, folks. Again, if you're just joining us here again, folks, you are joining us here today as part of Playback's Big Day. Again, we got a full NBA slate. As already mentioned here, again, we had it spotlighted, but again, Tony Reale, who hosted Around the Horn on ESPN for 23 years, is doing a special, debut launch today in the Playback main stage, mothership stage today of Around the Room, our version on Playback of Around the Horn. He's got 4 great Playback creators that will be a part of the panel with him scoring it. He'll also be apparently jumping around from room to room. Again, I believe that partner accounts, Nick, will probably take priority of it, which would include us during the full NBA slate. So again, Nick, this again, though, was a very cool initiative launched by Playback to, again, in a way, basically say, hey, people like us deserve to have games and that games should not be behind paywalls for the general population.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna have a fun night tonight. I hope we see him jump around to different communities and rooms. That would be hilarious. Like, I think you and I would just die like right on stage. Just like if he somehow ended up in our room, like that would be a highlight right there if that were to happen. But join us. Our coverage will take place. It's probably our coverage might come on the air before it's over, but so we'll be able to catch probably the first 15 minutes of it. I don't know how they're running it. I don't know how long they're going to be running it for.
I would think it'd be the half an hour to lead into the NBA coverage starting at 4:00 local time out here.
So we'll catch half of it at least, and then we can always watch it back in the replays afterwards. But that's going to be fun. And then join us at 6:45 p.m. Eastern, 3:45 p.m. Pacific for our version of Playback's Big Day on the Empty the Bench Network Playback channel and on our Twitch and Kick and YouTube channels. And you and I are actually going to be here for the double slates tonight for the first time in a little bit.
We will be. So that's where we're at, folks, here today. All right, Nick, this story has also gained some traction, but we brought this up very late last Thursday, but this has gotten a bit more traction. The city of Pasadena, California, and the Rose Bowl operating company are officially intensifying their legal battle versus UCLA football, filing for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction to stop the school from moving football home games to SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Pasadena has argued that the move violates a lease agreement that contractually binds UCLA to the Rose Bowl Stadium through 2044. Both Pasadena and the Rose Bowl contend that they would suffer immediate and also irreparable harm, emphasizing the financial investment in the stadium and citing UCLA's actions as a profound betrayal of trust, of tradition, in the very community. So, Nick, this story has obviously heated up now in the past week, though. But in this battle, Nick, which party, in your mind, has greater leverage in the court of public opinion, the institution prioritizing a modern stadium and potential revenue, or the community fighting to preserve tradition like Pasadena and the Rose Bowl are?
This goes back to what I said before about Brian Kelly with a contract. I mean, if they have a lease agreement and they have a contract agreement through 2044, then they're illegally breaking a binding contract. Which 2044, I'm trying to do the math. We're in 25.
19 years from now.
19 years. That's another 19 years. That's a problem. You can't just break a binding contract to say, I'm going to go play at SoFi Stadium unless you actually pay the contract off or you find a way to agree to move on from the deal. And I have the ESPN story. So the city of Pasadena, California, and the Rose Bowl operating company filed a request for preliminary injunction and temporary restraining order in Los Angeles County Superior Court on Monday, attempting to prevent UCLA from leaving the Rose Bowl Stadium and ending its lease until pending litigation against the school is resolved. Quote, there is no way to sugarcoat it. UCLA has confirmed its imminent departure, severely destabilizing plaintiffs' core operations. Those operations are structured around and contingent upon UCLA. Last week, the city of Pasadena and the RBOC filed a lawsuit against UCLA to attempt to force the school to honor the terms of their lease with the venue. The current lease requires them to continue to play their home games at the Rose Bowl through 2043. This is going to be an interesting legal battle. In Monday's filing, the plaintiffs point out that the lease agreement, quote, expressly prohibits UCLA from conducting any home football games in any facility located in the Los Angeles area or in Orange County other than Rose Bowl Stadium, and claimed they would suffer immediate and irreparable harm if UCLA is not forced to keep the status quo of the lease during the lawsuit. Huh?
Yeah.
If you made a long-term agreement, you're not happy now, so now you're trying to run away? But we talked about this when the deal originally came out.
Right.
That it's like 35 miles away from the campus?
Yeah, and SoFi is about halfway between Westwood and Inglewood and
That-
Pasadena.
That's ridiculous. 35 miles away? But you signed a deal. You got to honor it. Or pay. Your choice. What other choices do you have?
Nowhere else. I mean, the Rose Bowl has been their home for as long as I can remember. Obviously, it's gone through renovations because it's such an old venue from the, 1932 Olympic Games, and we'll be hosting events in 2028. The Rose Bowl game, obviously, everyone loves the Rose Bowl every year on New Year's Day for college football. Even I love it, though I don't like American football in general. I just think, Nick, though, that this reminds me too much, though, of when UCLA was redoing Pauley Pavilion for basketball. They became the Harlem Globetrotters. They were playing all around Southern California. And when I say that, Nick, San Diego, Anaheim, Ontario, Bakersfield, any small, the old LA Memorial Sports Arena, they were trying to find the right place to play these games when they were redoing Pauley Pavilion. Now, this is not like a press clipping, though, Nick, about the Jaguars leaving for Camping World Stadium in 2027, for all of next season because of renovations at Everbank Field or Everbank Stadium. The Bruins basketball team, Nick, played all around SoCal. Again, they played games here in San Diego for some reason. They went to the Pond in Anaheim. They went to Ontario, California. They went to, Bakersfield, the old LA Sports Arena. They went to Staples Center. They never really found the right place to play, though, when Pauley was under construction. Nick, though, for football, you've got no other options. You're not going to go play at the LA Coliseum and play at the rival university, for God's sakes. You're not going to go and play at, you could play at SoFi. You're not going to go play at DHSP where the Galaxy have their home games for, 30,000 people, or at BMO Stadium for LAFC. You are going to play at the Rose Bowl, whether you like it or not, for 19 more years. Get out of here. Stop.
You're not going to win this because if you have a contractual agreement, you better fucking honor it because they're paying money to renovate this stadium. So they're going to lose this one. They're going to lose this one badly because
I hope they do.
So there's not much more to really add to this because they're under a contractual agreement. By the way, breaking news to a story just now, which we talked about, it seems like moons ago, but according to Front Office Sports, this is an exclusive from Michael McCarthy, I think. Yeah. Let me just make sure I pull the tweet up so I don't say the wrong. Oh, it's right there. ESPN is ordering Dan Orlovsky, Kendrick Perkins, and Laura Rutledge to cut marketing ties to Papaya Gaming. That's the one that owns Solitaire Cash. Obviously, Mina Kimes bailed on the Beat Steven Solitaire challenge. But they basically told everybody you better bail on this. Stephen A has not yet.
And I doubt he will.
So, just to go quickly through the story here that Michael McCarthy put up, ESPN is ordering, that is the direct word that they're using, several on-air talents to cut their marketing ties to controversial Papaya Gaming. ESPN Brass told Dan Orlovsky, Kendrick Perkins, Mina Kimes, and Laura Rutledge to end their promotion of Papaya and its Solitaire app. The next question will be what Stephen A. Smith does. Smith was the primary star of the ad campaign promoting Papaya's Solitaire game. A representative for Smith did not respond to a request for comment. The ESPN faces who promoted Papaya's Beat Stephen A. challenge have come under fire since news emerged of a federal lawsuit. See if there's anything else, because we've pretty much talked about this. So Kimes, Orlovsky, and Rutledge deleted their promotional tweets. Just make sure I didn't miss anything.
No, in a way, Nick, we talked about Mina Kimes a bit, though, in passing at the start of the Stephen A. Smith, roast hour, basically, that she already even publicly said, hey, I made a mistake falling for this stuff. I effed up, 100% on me. Then obviously we knew about Laura was in a way going to be bailing. Orlovsky was going to be bailing eventually. But now that ESPN's come out and said it, though, not a surprise, though. And I think, Nick, that Stephen A. will not do it because he wants to be a damn defiant, stupid idiot.
Yeah, I agree with you. There is one more line I wanted to read in here also, which is very important that we didn't have before when we did this story. But ESPN Brass were not given the opportunity to vet the Papaya deal.
So Stephen A. made the deal basically behind everyone's back. What else is new?
Yeah, but Stephen A. does his own shit. But at the same time, this does affect them because who do you think they're using branding wise? Yeah. Well, that's obvious. You and I have said that forever. It says the controversy over the Papaya deal also comes at a bad moment timing wise for the worldwide leader as they just closed ESPN Bet and they're dealing with DraftKings again.
The YouTube TV blackout.
Yeah, this is not good. On November 3rd, Papaya announced Smith as their global ambassador.
Please.
But within days, the Papaya deal turned into a fiasco. Ex-ESPNer Michelle Beadle attacked Stephen A. Smith, which we talked about earlier. ESPN declined to comment for this story, and Papaya executives did not respond to a request for comment. This is not good. Now that ESPN has basically demanded their talent to get away from this ASAP.
Yeah, there's going to be a major ripple effect, I think, as time goes on here.
But ESPN not in a good situation currently, if you ask me. So,
I agree.
All right, what do we got left here?
We got the press clippings, Nick. We might be able to revisit one story that we missed in hour 2 because of a Stephen A. Smith hour we did. Nick, this was not really a surprise, but from what you've told me, that this is nothing new. But current Fox Sports NFL lead host Kurt Menefee had a notable heated on-air interview recently with outgoing New York City Mayor Eric Adams, where Menefee had been pressing the mayor on his budget and public safety policies, showcasing a high degree of journalistic tension in the segment, though. But I guess, though, Nick, nothing new here, though, as Eric Adams has kind of been a bit of a hothead, though, as New York's mayor, if that's what I'm being told.
Yeah, so Eric Adams is on the way out for, what's his name, Modani or
Zohan? Yeah.
Yeah. But Kurt Menefee, who now does Good Day New York as his day job, basically, apparently he's gotten into heated arguments with Eric Adams before. I watched the video. I'm not going to bore you with that.
We've already bored you enough, folks, with too much Stephen A. content for the day. Sorry.
But if you go and look, it's a little like crossing the line as a broadcaster, a little, because it became like a little bit of a question match back and forth to the point where he was calling out the mayor of New York, and then Mayor Adams punched back and said, "This is who you are." Every time I come on the show, it got ugly.
Yeah,
and I just don't think it's a good look as a broadcaster.
No, I mean, in a way, Nick. I mean, I haven't seen the video, nor do I care to watch it. But you bringing that up, though, reminds me a bit of Mike Tyson's on their demeanor before a fight on ESPN, and I think it was Larry Merchant said, "Mike, why do you got to talk like that?" And Mike said, "If you don't like it, turn off your station." And then they'd skip the interview. Brian Kenny with Floyd Mayweather Jr. on ESPN.
Yes. Yep. That was before he went to MLB Network. Yep.
Go ahead, Floyd. Go ahead.
Oh, like he threatened to beat him up or something, right?
Yeah. I forget, but
I like Brian Kenny, but I like the fact
I don't personally like him.
I just like the fact that he was willing to just like stand in there rather than be intimidated in a sense. Because he's not going to, first of all, he wouldn't attack anybody. That would ruin his reputation at the time if
Of course.
he attacked anybody. What else do we got here? Jaguars to play in Orlando, which we started to talk about. The Jaguars have reportedly decided to play their home games in Orlando's Camping World Stadium during the entire 2027 season due to massive multi-billion-dollar renovation of Everbank Stadium, pending NFL owner approval.
So they're playing, Nick, at the old Tangerine and Citrus Bowl, it looks like, in Orlando.
Is that an NFL fit stadium?
It is. It holds up to 60,000 people, but can be expanded to 65,194.
All right, so it is big enough to be an NFL stadium. They had to do something because it's being renovated. What choice do they have?
Yeah, I think they tried to play a bit during the renovations, Nick. But I think that this happens all the time, though. Like, we know about the lawsuit between the Stars and the Mavericks about the American Airlines Center. The Phoenix Suns have played through renovations. The Lakers, Kings, and Sparks are playing through renovations at Crypto.com Arena. Like, this stuff happens, though, Nick. But I think, though, with Jacksonville, though, man, I don't know if you and Bando brought this up or was brought up, though, on ETB recently, that at one point we all thought the Jaguars were going to be either moving out of Jacksonville to maybe come to San Diego or be the permanent team of London, England.
That's a good point. First of all, I don't think you're ever going to see a home team in London. I just don't think the travel would be absolutely insane.
It would just kill everybody.
So I just don't see that happening at all. So I don't know. I don't know how that would be taken, but they have to play in a stadium because they're part of the NFL. So they got to figure that out.
And Camping World will be fine. I mean, the Citrus Bowl's played there, but Tangerine Bowl was played there at one point in time. I think they'll be fine.
Can we go back to the one story you put in here too that you were saying also from Front Office Sports?
Sure. What do you got?
Well, you put it in here. Paul Feinbaum.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is another big story, too, involving breaking news from earlier in our show today. Per reports from Front Office Sports, Paul Feinbaum is, quote-unquote, very close to leaving ESPN as the mouth of the South is still seriously molding a run in the Senate as a Republican for the state of Alabama. Nick, what do you think here?
This is effing stupid. I'm just going to say that now. Like, you're going to leave a job that's probably paying you really good money. You're part of college football. You call sports for a living. And now you want to run for the U.S. Senate in Alabama. I don't know what to say here, but why would you give up that cushy job to take this pressure job of working in the Senate? Why? There's no answers for this. And I'm not the biggest Paul Feinbaum fan by any means, but
I mean, why do you want to follow Tommy Tuberville's footsteps and go into Senate after he was a great football coach? Like, why bother? I don't get it.
I don't get it. God, just Paul, stay at ESPN. Don't run for politics. Like you're asking for more. You thought he was an irritable guy. Now just wait.
You're asking for trouble now,
and he can't be on ESPN anymore due to the equal rights stuff. So, good luck, I guess.
I don't think that story's getting off the ground. I mean, I don't see that really happening. I really don't.
I think this is more attention grabbing than anything. He could take it. He has talked about politics before. And he's got to move to Alabama, too.
Yeah. which is weird. 'Cause isn't he based in North Carolina?
I don't know exactly where. I mean, I could try looking it up. I don't know if I'm going to get the answer. If I can type. Let's see. Oh, he recently moved back to Alabama. That's why he's running for Senate in Alabama.
Interesting.
Because you were right. He lived in Charlotte for years until early this year.
The photo that they used in the story is him at a Charlotte FC game wearing a jersey and a scarf for Charlotte FC of Major League Soccer.
Because most of the ESPN college stuff, like where ESPNU and all the college stuff, the SEC network, all that stuff was in Charlotte. So I don't know if I really see this happening, but he could do it. He could shock the world.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Talking
Nick,
to-
staying though, Nick, in gambling. Good grief. The
Speaking
NCAA
of
has
shots
recently
fired.
revoked the eligibility of 6 more men's college basketball players across 3 schools, including Power Conference school member Arizona State, for partaking in sports betting schemes, as allegations have poured in, including players attempting to lose by more points than the spread.
That's 4 scandals now.
Will it ever end?
So we have an MLB scandal, we have an NBA scandal,
UFC,
and now we have a college basketball scandal. Now, with this one, there's 6 schools involved in this.
One of them being Arizona State.
Haven't they had issues before?
I think they have back in the 90s, I want to say, and maybe recently too.
You know what my answer is going to be to this, right?
Yeah, I mean, you and I probably have the same thought process. Answer.
Bye. See you later. And do you remember we talked about, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, that they just passed the law that allowed college players to gamble
on professional sports?
Gee, what amazing timing for that. When the NBA huge FBI rig comes down.
20 minutes after the announcement was made about the scandal is when it became law for college athletes to bet.
And then all of a sudden they say, "Oh, sorry, we got to delay this now." Gee, you think? You think you got to delay that? Yeah, you do. I never would have seen, and I can bring this point up now because we actually have way more time than I thought we were at the end of the show here. But the amount of gambling or sports books that are involved in this space that we're in, what do they tell people now? Oh, you got to go grab that sports book money. Grab the sports book. You realize most podcast sponsors or digital media, short video sponsors, what are they?
Sportsbook sponsors.
And that's where the money is. It's crazy, right? Like that's where most of the money's coming from.
And if I'm not mistaken, Nick, we've already made profit off of the Novik sponsorship here on ETB.
I mean, we got as part of our deal with Novik that we get them signups, they give us money for it. But yes, we did make a small profit, but it's still better than nothing. But it's the same thing. Now, these huge deals that these big names are getting are like actual, like DraftKings, FanDuel,
BetMGM.
They're getting paid. Pat McAfee, before he left to go to ESPN officially full, he had like $150 million deal with FanDuel.
Yeah.
$150 million. Think about that money. But I'm just going to say the same thing again. Athletes are not allowed to gamble on the sport that they're in. Or better yet, when you're in season, we can do it this way. When you're in season, no gambling. That way, you avoid your own sport being sabotaged.
But off season, though, it'd be free will.
Well, because your sport's not in when you're in your off season.
I can get behind that.
In season, for every sport, for any sport, professional, college, whatever. If you're in your season, no gambling at all. And I mean everything. Off season, do whatever you want. It's on your own time. I think that's a common decency of
you would think.
Compromising. You compromise. Don't do it during your season. Do whatever you want in your off season.
Nick, last press clipping here before we go back to at least one more story here that we cannot get to during the Stephen A. Smith hour. Nick, this was kind of a shock. Canadian media technology company Stingray Group announced a definitive agreement to acquire TuneIn Radio in a transaction valued of up to $175 million, which marks a major consolidation move in the digital audio space. Nick, this came out of left field, man. Wow.
Yeah, so we were putting the show together, and all of a sudden, when I don't mind promoting this site because they do a really good job, Barrett Sports Media
Yes,
Barrett
they do
Media,
a phenomenal job.
So they broke this story. So Stingray Group Incorporated has announced it has entered into a definitive agreement to acquire live audio streaming pioneer TuneIn Holdings Incorporated in a transaction valued at $175 million. Wow, it's a lot of money. The deal underscores Stingray's push to expand its digital audio footprint and strengthen its advertising offerings. Under the agreement, Stingray will pay $150 million at closing, plus an additional $25 million 12 months after closing, contingent on performance. The acquisition will be financed in part by $150 million term loan. That's a first. Under Stingray's renewed credit facility. The transaction is subject to TuneIn shareholder approval, like any other big company, regulatory clearance, and customary closing conditions, with completion expected by year end of 2025. That's quick.
That's next month.
The acquisition is poised to combine Stingray's extensive music and video distribution infrastructure with TuneIn's robust platform, which reaches more than 75 million active listeners.
That includes me because the Anaheim Ducks radio station for games is on TuneIn Radio.
TuneIn offers access to over 100,000 radio stations, podcasts, music channels, news, sports, and audiobooks. You do know technically we could create a TuneIn channel, right?
What are we waiting for?
I was looking that up the other day, actually, like where we could take
Content Dungeon tonight, baby.
I have to look and see if that's still the case, but I was reading that you can technically do that.
We're gonna work on it anyway.
It wouldn't be the first time. Let's
I'll
see.
bleep and do it anyway. I'll bleep and do it again.
Want to see me run back and forth to the mountain? Want to see me do it again? It's the quick stir. Okay, I'm going to stop being obnoxious right now.
All right, Nick, we have time for one more segment here. You want to go option A, option B, or option C that we missed an hour or two?
All right, dealer. Let's make a deal. What story?
What do you want? Option A, B, or C?
Crap. I don't know. Where do I feel like going? You know what? This has been an A effort show today with video and content. Let's go A.
The National Women's Soccer League has been engulfed in a very much difficult culture war after an op-ed piece written by an Angel City FC player called for league-wide gender eligibility rules. The NWSL teams and players and fans, for that matter, including Angel City team captain Sarah Gordon, quickly blasted the op-ed piece by one of her teammates as both transphobic and racist. As the article noted, it's as Sarah Gordon specifically noted in her press conference, the harmful undertones of the story, plus the inclusion of a photo of Barbara Banda, who plays for the Orlando Pride, being in the headline story. On the contrary, though, Nick, the league also announced over the weekend that Atlanta, Georgia, will become home for the league's 17th franchise in 3 years' time in 2028, underneath the ownership of Arthur M. Blank's AMB Sports Entertainment Group, who also owns the Falcons and the MLS's Atlanta United FC, who is also providing seed funding for the NWSL Foundation. So, Nick, we're covering, sadly, both good and bad here with the NWSL. But, Nick, as the league right now is navigating a high-profile public internal conflict, cultural conflict over gender eligibility and announcing a major high-profile expansion bid with a billionaire owner in Atlanta, does this, though, reflect a league, though, whose cultural significance is growing faster, maybe, than the ability for the league to unify as one community? Your thoughts on both sides of the coin?
This is not a good look. You and I were discussing this story over the past couple of days. Why discuss something you don't know the answer to?
Correct.
Or you don't have the information for? I don't remember the exact quote. So I don't want to say something exactly since I don't remember the exact quote.
The key point, though, Nick, and this is, I think, a good disclaimer. It was a op-ed that was written. So basically a opinion piece written, I believe, in the New York Times, I think, or New York Post, by a player of Angel City FC who said we need to have better gender eligibility rules. They sadly, Nick, the player in question, though, again, Barbara Bonda, has been very much linked, though, in a lot of people's minds to, being a transgender athlete because she's black, because of her body build, what have you. All she's done, though, Nick, is be a model citizen for a team, though, led by Brazilian legend Martha down there in Orlando. Again, they won the championship last season, and they've been, great ambassadors for the game as a whole. Where I think, Nick, though, right away, though, when this story got posted, every single franchise, every player in some way, every fan base, including my club here with San Diego Wave FC, put out statements blasting this piece, though, Nick. And sadly, Nick, all Angel City FC could do was write the comments written in this, though we value opinions, though, from players of our organization, they don't reflect the views of Angel City FC, Nick.
Stop.
Nick, ACFC got blasted by their own fan base.
Oh, because they made a PR?
And someone commented, this is your defense, though, Nick, when in your bio, you have a trans flag up in your bio. All you can do is put out a phony baloney, PR written statement, though, where, Nick, this club, to their credit, Nick, they have been easily one of the most vocal teams in the NWSL when it's come to the ICE raids in Los Angeles. They were one of the very few, Nick, who dared to speak up against what was going on, though, in LA with, the whole, rioting that was not going on and the ICE and immigration raids, Nick. They were the only team, along with LAFC, Nick. Those were the only two teams in the entire LA city that spoke up about what was going on. But here they can't even do the same thing, though, when one of their players writes this opinion piece about gender eligibility rules in the NWSL.
First of all, you're stepping into the muddy waters when you talk about gender, transgender, and inclusivity. Like, you're stepping into a controversial muddy water that you can't win talking about that way. Like, so op-ed pieces, in my opinion, are BS, because basically what they're telling you up front when you read an op-ed is that don't think about the facts, don't think about the accuracy, just worry about what this one person has to say about this topic.
By the way, Nick, real quick, speaking of the bid for Atlanta that we're going to get to here in a second, there is now a report from Jeff Kraskoff, who's one of the best American soccer writers. Atlanta will play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where the Falcons and ATL United play MLS. 28,000 seats for their home games because they have the curtain system that can, shut off the upper levels of the stadium. There's also talk, though, that there is that Jessica Berman, who did get that contract extension as the commissioner. She is very much confident that they will have an 18th team that same season, somewhere probably in the Midwest or West Coast.
I mean, that's good. That means that they're expanding. So it means there must be a fan base in where they're going. But yeah, to finish that point, op-eds are dumb. I've always believed op-eds are dumb because, listen to my opinion, I'm in this box right here. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, well, too bad. And by the way, when players do it, it's worse. When professional athletes do it, well, this is my thought on transgender and inclusivity. What do you think is going to happen?
I think, Nick, this is and Christy's so right, though. It's a very hot button topic, Nick. It's a hotter button topic, though. It's hot to go when it's in women's sports, because it's all we ever hear about, though, Nick, is stuff like this happening. I recall a great friend of mine, Nick, Candace Wiggins, put out a op-ed piece in a way the day before she was inducted into the San Diego Hall of Champions, that I was a guest at her table, where she made the false claim, hey, 98% of the entire WNBA is lesbian. And I felt very much, exonerated of being a straight player in a league that's like this. Where, Nick, too, again, with, women's soccer kind of being the same exact way, though, the Players Tribune, Nick, I think did a great job, though, when it boiled down to giving athletes the right platform, but not like this, though, where it's an opted piece in a major newspaper.
Yeah. You can't win this one. Like, physically, mentally, you can't win this one. So why even go there with that topic? Why even say it? Why even attempt to make an op-ed piece on a story that is going to get your reputation destroyed? You can't win. The only way this can go is down. Because and what was the name of the player who said it? Elizabeth Eady. I find it hilarious that they say Edie's views did not represent the organization's stance. When someone has to say that the views don't represent the organization's views, that's basically saying that, don't blame them for my quote. You realize when you're contracted by a team, you represent them on and off the field. So when you say dumb crap like this, it's going to come back to them whether you like it or not.
Without a doubt, 1,000%.
So putting in that stupid disclaimer that says Edie's views did not represent the organization's stance, that means nothing. That means absolutely nothing. Because they're going to say, it says right here, by Angel City FC player Elizabeth Eady. Okay? So you can't win. This is a lose-lose situation. And there's just no way out of this at this point in time. This is an effing disaster. And I don't know what else you can say about this because I just saw another story about the MLS come up too.
I believe they're voting today about potentially changing the season to mimic the current season of European soccer. I think there might be other things. As much as people wanted to go that way, I don't think that MLS would want to do that because you're talking about, Nick, we talked about this a little bit before, though. There's already shared stadiums as is, though, during the NFL season in play here in Major League Soccer. You really want to run the risk of, the field being tore up, guys getting hurt, whatnot. I mean, as much as it might be cool, I don't think it's going to pan out, sadly.
I don't know. All I can say, just to conclude on that story, is don't say dumb shit, including op-eds.
Yeah,
because she got destroyed by what? The whole NWSL?
Yep.
Well, she got her answer, right?
Yeah.
Do we have anything else left before we...
All right, so real quick, though, because you brought the MLS story. This is what is being reported by Sports Illustrated today. Major League Soccer owners could determine the next step in the league's evolution on Thursday, as they are reportedly expected to vote on shifting the season calendar to a fall to spring schedule. League owners could also vote to shift its competition format to a single table system with 5 geographically organized divisions rather than the current Western and Eastern conferences. While there were initial hopes to vote on the schedule change at a May meeting in Chicago, both the owners and MLSPA opted to delay the vote. They could do the same at the upcoming meetings as well. However, the runway to implement changes for the 2027 season is quickly slipping away, and any further delay could push them farther from the expected bump in soccer popularity following the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Should MLS adopt the schedule change, it would align with Europe's major competitions, beginning the regular season in July or August and ending in April, with the MLS Cup playoffs beginning in May. The move would also allow MLS to align with international and transfer windows. MLS would also likely take a winter break in December and January, similar to the Bundesliga, followed by the offseason in June and July. Matches would likely pause in the second week of December and resume in February with the hopes of avoiding kickoff with the NFL's Super Bowl weekend, held the second weekend of February. Though the schedule change would allow the league to align with the rest of the world, it would also face challenges in northern markets, which could need adjustments to training facilities and stadiums due to the weather being problems in certain markets, while also which they also have said could include 5 divisions and not instead of a West versus Eastern conference, for example, which clubs would play home and home against teams in their division and also play the remaining 24 teams in the league at least one time, bringing the total to 34 games, the standard number in past Major League Soccer season. Nick, I don't see any of this going forward, to be very frank.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, first of all,
Especially with them competing with the Super Bowl, no thanks.
it takes a lot to restructure a schedule too, as we've learned.
Yeah.
One final report, then we'll go off because we got to leave and come back in about an hour and 40 minutes. Disney is reportedly losing an estimated $60 million in revenue every 2 weeks as the YouTube TV ESPN blackout nears its 14th day. But it's worth putting the number in context. Disney's sports division, primarily made up of ESPN, generated more than $17 billion in revenue in 2024.
Come on, y'all aren't you all are not hurting for the money. Make it stop.
60 million represents less than 0.4% of that. Put another way, ESPN pays close to 60 million for each half of an NFL game it airs.
That makes no sense.
All right. Before we go, as we've officially hit 5 p.m. Eastern, last alerts before we head off air, because I've been scrolling all over this rundown. As you're hanging out with us today, remember that you're part of Playback's big day. It's all about breaking NBA viewership records and proving that the future of sports belongs to fans and creators, not locked up behind those godforsaken paywalls. Join the movement today by tuning into any NBA game on Playback or with us and spreading the word with the tag #Playback's Big Day. We will be live in about an hour and 40 minutes or so at 6:45 p.m. Eastern, 3:45 p.m. Pacific. As part of the big festivities, a lot of people are going to be joining us.
And hopefully Tony Reale will make a stop to ETB today.
I hope. We can't promise it.
Yes.
But we hope. If he's going to make some...
Speak it go into existence.
But he will be doing a around the horn style, which he's been doing for 23 years before ESPN abruptly took it off air. And is now going to do Around the Room, which is Playback's new Around the Horn software situation gaming setup. There was four Playback creators that are going to be in there with him. Same way. It works the same way. We've tested it out. We're going to test it out some more. You have a point system. You have a mute system, which is cool. You can put up the topics in the style like they do. So you and I are going to have to play with that some more to get it perfected. But we have 2 shows in the near future that are going to be using the Around the Room software. One is, what was the name of our version of it again?
Riding the Bench.
Riding the Bench. And then Tail of the Tape, which is going to be an MMA version of Around the Room. So, and it looks like Tom Albano is going to host both. So, can you imagine you and I going up against each other in that?
Oh, man.
That might be fun, actually.
I think it'd be great.
I could see, you know what the first 4 should be? It should be myself, you, Zan, and Nick D.
I agree.
I think there would be madness and fireworks that breaks out.
That would be like the first day of Around the Horn with Max, TJ, Woody, Mariotti, and Bob Ryan.
God. But we're going to head off for now. Make sure you follow us on social media at ETB Network across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, other platforms on Kick and Twitch as well. Our next episode is when?
Next Thursday, 2:00 Eastern Time.
Okay, so make sure you join us back again on the 20th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific. Full thanks to Playback and Novig. Make sure you, like I said, follow us on YouTube, Playback, Kick, Twitch, all our platforms at ETB Network. Help us get to our 4,000 watch hour goal on YouTube. We're about halfway there, almost. I say we're already halfway there.
Halfway there.
Sorry. Anyway, but that'll do it for this episode 23 of Press Row. He's Callan. I'm Nick. We will see you next week. And we will see you in about an hour and 40 minutes for the festivities of Playback's big day. Until
Let's
then,
go.
until
Have a good day,
then,
everybody.
have a good day. We will see you in a little bit. See you later.